Part 54. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 532. When Bai Wei returned to the dormitory, it was almost 11 o'clock in the evening, and the lights were about to be turned off. Xiao Jiao, Zhang Qiang, Zhang Yu, and 3 or 4 girls from the 2 dormitories next door and opposite, 7 or 8 people were sitting around the small table and drinking. There were no vegetables on the small table, only peanuts, melon seeds, and some bagged food. Beer cans were scattered everywhere. Xiao Jiao was obviously a little drunk. Her face was red and her eyes were a little blurry. Sister Wei, what have you been doing? Why did you come back so late? You also come with us, drink some. She was so drunk that her speech was slurred. Bai Wei smiled and did not answer. What he said when she parted with Li Jie just now flashed through her mind. Bai Wei, how about we give it a try? Maybe I am not a good man, but at least I am a responsible man. I may not be able to give you everything, but I will try my best to be a qualified boyfriend. You don't have to rush to answer. Just tell me when you think about it. It doesn't matter if you don't want to, we are still friends. Lover? Friend. Bai Wei murmured something in her heart. Her mother's experience and 2 bad encounters made her distrustful of men. Maybe there are really good men in this world, but she doesn't believe she can meet him. Maybe it's not bad to be a lover and you can break up at any time. Although Li Jie is not a good man, he is the best man to her. The lights in the dormitory suddenly went out, and the room was suddenly dark. Hey, the lights are out, there were complaints in the dormitory building. Xiao Jiao smiled drunkenly and said, it's okay if the lights are turned off. Just turn on the lamp and let's continue drinking. Lu Li stood up and fumbled to turn on the lamp on her desk, and there was light in the dormitory again. Zhang Qiang dissuaded her and said, why don't we stop drinking? We have to answer the question tomorrow. Zhang Yu said nonchalantly, it's okay, I won't answer the question at noon. Zhang Qiang snorted at her, it's noon for you, but I have to answer the question after 8 o'clock. Bai Wei glanced at Xiao Jiao and said, Xiao Jiao, are you going to stay here tonight and not go back to the rental house? After hearing what Bai Wei said, Xiao Jiao remembered that Li Jie should have finished socializing and returned to the rental house. Yes, I have to go back, she stood up unsteadily. Zhou Jing, who was sitting on the bed next to her, quickly stood up and supported her. Bai Wei came over and supported Xiao Jiao with Zhou Jing, let's send her back together. After Li Jie and Bai Wei separated, they left the school and returned to the rental house. He got off the car, looked up at the second floor, and found that there were no lights on in the rental house and it was pitch dark. Could it be that Xiao Jiao hasn't come back yet? Li Jie withdrew his gaze and walked into the building. Just as he was about to go upstairs, the door of a nearby room suddenly opened and a tall and beautiful girl came out. Their eyes met for a moment, and both of them were stunned. Senior, you're back, Chen Xian came to her senses and said in surprise. Li Jie said in surprise, Xiao Xian, why are you here? He looked Chen Xian up and down. She was dressed casually, wearing only a t-shirt and shorts, and a pair of pink slippers. Chen Xian smiled and said, my classmates and I rent here. Senior, do you still rent the house here? In the second semester of her sophomore year, she moved out of the school dormitory and chose to rent here because she heard that Li Jie had rented a house here. Li Jie nodded, well, I haven't returned to this house. I thought you had already surrendered the house. Chen Xian paused and said, Aunt Chen is a very nice person. Not only does she charge cheap rent, but she also takes special care of us. After listening to her words, Li Jie showed a strange smile on his face. In fact, he had bought this self-built building a long time ago. He just wanted to give Xiao Jiao a surprise, so he didn't tell her. The original landlord, Aunt Chen, is now responsible for helping him take care of the house. Senior, who are you talking to? A beautiful girl with a slender figure, pure and agile, also walked out of the room. As she spoke, her eyes fell on Li Jie. Chen Xian glanced at Li Jie, smiled and said to the girl, Ming Yang, haven't you always wanted to meet Li Jie's elder brother? Now you can meet him. Lu Mingyang was stunned for a moment, then looked at Li Jie excitedly. Hello, senior, I am Lu Mingyang, majoring in preschool education in the class of 2010. I especially admire you, senior. She got a little timid mid-sentence and lowered her voice in embarrassment. Hello Mingyang, Li Jie smiled at her. Are you from Chongqing? Senior, how do you know I'm from Chongqing? Lu Mingyang said in surprise. You look a lot like a friend of mine. When he first saw this girl named Lu Mingyang, Li Jie subconsciously thought of Shen Xinyi. It's not that the two of them look particularly similar. Shen Xinyi is a cute and voluptuous girl, but this girl named Lu Mingyang is slender, smart and lively. But their temperaments are so similar, they are both particularly pure and agile, with a pair of big deer-like eyes that are clear, innocent, and charming. Senior, are you talking about senior sister Xinyi? Lu Mingyang said in a guessing tone. Li Jie was a little surprised. Do you know her? Lu Mingyang nodded and said, well, I am also from SPB. Senior sister Xinyi is particularly famous in our place. Are you also from SPB? Li Jie felt it was even more coincidental. Chen Xian interjected, Senior, Mingyang is also the anchor of our studio. After hearing this, Li Jie nodded and said, then you two work hard. Although the anchor industry is popular among young people, it is also one of the few industries with low threshold and high income. If you work well, you can change your destiny. You girls, if you save more money, you can have a better development in the future. Senior, I understand. Chen Xian thought about how she had been an anchor for 2 years, so she bought a 180 square meter flat in Shanghai and moved her parents over. She realized more and more what it means to change your destiny. If she studies, graduates, and finds a job step by step, her academic qualifications will only cost 3,000 to 4,000 yuan a month at most. She will never even think about buying a house in Shanghai even if she works until she dies. Li Jie raised his head and glanced at his watch. It's getting late. I'm going upstairs. You two should have a rest early. However, just as he was about to go upstairs, the sound of a car suddenly came from outside the building. Li Jie's heart moved, and he turned around and walked out of the building. None of the students who rent here have a car. As soon as he came outside, he saw the BMW 530i he first bought parked in front of the self-built building. Bai Wei and Zhou Jing helped the drunk and dazed Xiao Jiao out of the back seat of the car. Sure enough, Xiao Jiao and the others are back. Did she drink again? Li Jie's eyes fell on Xiao Jiao. This Xiao Jiao doesn't drink well, but he also likes to show off his energy. He drinks too much as soon as he drinks. Just like how she behaved on. Bai Wei said, Xiao Jiao drank too much at a party with her classmates in the dormitory, so I sent her back with Zhou Jing. Since you are here, I leave that person to you. When Xiao Jiao first left the dormitory, his consciousness was still relatively clear. But when he came outside and was blown by the wind, he became even more drunk, and he was a little drunk and unconscious. Bai Wei handed Xiao Jiao to Li Jie and turned around to go back to school. But Li Jie stopped her, Bai Wei. When Bai Wei stopped and turned around, Li Jie looked at her and continued, the building should have been locked by this time. Don't go back and trouble the dormitory and just stay here for one night, right? Seeing that she was hesitant and seemed to want to refuse, he added, I bought this building. You can live in the empty room next door. After hearing what he said, Bai Wei nodded, okay then. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 533. Seeing Li Jie carrying Xiao Jiao and Bai Wei upstairs together, Lu Mingyang, who was still staying aside, turned to Chen Xian and asked in a questioning tone, "Is the girl Li Jie is holding Xiao Jiao?" "Well, she is Xiao Jiao." Chen Xian hummed slightly and looked away from the stairs. "She is Xiao Jiao," Lu Mingyang repeated softly. The first time she met the famous Xiao Jiao, she was honestly a little disappointed. The other party is quite beautiful, but not as stunning as expected, and she is still drunk. On the contrary, the girl behind Li Zucheng is tall, beautiful, and has an outstanding temperament. "Senior, who is that girl?" "She is Senior Bai Wei, the former head of our short video team," Chen Xian said. Lu Mingyang looked astonished after hearing this. "She is Senior Bai Wei, she has such a good temperament." She especially envied those mature and capable seniors. Her previous idol was Senior Fang Wenwen. But compared with Senior Bai Wei, Senior Fang Wenwen is far behind. "Let's go back to the room too," Chen Xian said, and was about to turn around and go back to the room, but suddenly she stopped again. She just wanted to go upstairs to collect the clothes, but she forgot to collect the clothes that were hung on the roof last night. After meeting Li Jie, she forgot about collecting the clothes. Going upstairs to the room, Li Jie put the drunk and dazed Xiao Jiao on the bed. "Husband, you're back," Xiao Jiao muttered softly, half drunk and half awake. "This Xiao Jiao can't drink enough, and yet he drinks so much." Bai Wei stood behind him and said nothing. Li Jie helped Xiao Jiao take off her shoes, pulled the thin quilt aside to cover her, then turned around and looked at Bai Wei. "I'll take you to the room." Bai Wei hummed softly and turned around to go out. Li Jie stopped her again. "Wait a minute." Bai Wei stopped and looked at Li Jie with questioning eyes. Li Jie didn't speak, came to her, tilted his head slightly and slowly approached her red lips. Bai Wei is over 170 centimeters tall, and she wears high heels, so she is no shorter than Li Jie, who is 178 centimeters tall. If he wants to do something, he doesn't even need to lower his head, which is extremely convenient. Seeing Li Jie's face getting closer and closer, Bai Wei looked obviously uneasy, her eyelashes blinked unconsciously, and just when their lips were about to touch, she suddenly turned her head away. "Don't be like this, Xiao Jiao is still here." At the moment when Bai Wei escaped, Li Jie felt a little disappointed, but after hearing what she said next, his disappointment turned into surprise. "Is it okay if Xiao Jiao is here? How about Xiao Jiao's absence?" However, bullying his best friend right under his girlfriend's nose is quite, ahem, how could a serious person like him have such messy thoughts? Li Jie took Bai Wei to the room next door. This room was much smaller than the room he and Xiao Jiao had. It was only a room of more than 20 square meters. There was no living room or kitchen. It was very clean and tidy. "These sheets and quilts are new, but they haven't been dried in the sun for a long time. They may be a little damp, so you'll just have to make do with them," he said as he opened the cabinet and took out new sheets and thin quilts. Hongcheng is hot and rainy in summer, and the air is relatively humid. Bai Wei hummed slightly and nodded. Li Jie looked around and said, "I'm leaving then. It's getting late. You should rest early." "Okay." Bai Wei sent him outside. "I'm leaving." Li Jie turned around. "Well, you should go to bed early." After Bai Wei finished speaking, she was about to go back to the room. "Aren't you going to show your support?" "What does it mean?" Li Jie didn't speak, just smiled and pointed at his cheek. Bai Wei looked at him calmly. "Didn't you say you would give me time to think about it?" "I said I would give you time to think about it, but this is just a ceremonial kiss between friends. Aren't we friends? This etiquette doesn't seem to be popular in China. If you don't kiss me, then I won't leave," Li Jie said, stretching his legs to block the door. Bai Wei looked a little helpless. "Li Jie, can you stop being like this?" She stopped talking mid-sentence. "Stop what?" Stop being such a rogue, Li Jie had a smile on his face. If you want to chase girls, you have to be thick-skinned and act rogue. Girls all like men who are a bit bad, and being too serious will only make them feel boring. Of course, the premise is that girls don't dislike you, otherwise they will just think that you are acting like a gangster. Just kiss her gently. Li Jie backed down and said. Bai Wei hesitated for a moment, then slowly moved towards his cheek and kissed him like a dragonfly. But Li Jie suddenly turned his head, and she kissed him directly on the lips. The moment the two people's lips touched, Bai Wei's beautiful eyes widened instantly, and her eyes seemed to say, "How could you cheat again?" A smile flashed in Li Jie's eyes, and he pressed her against the wall with a push, and kissed her hard. Bai Wei resisted a little and pushed him hard, but she couldn't push him. She had no choice but to give up and passively dealt with his demands. But, suddenly something fell to the ground, making a crisp sound. Li Jie stopped immediately and turned his head to look in the direction of the sound. Bai Wei panted slightly and looked over. I saw a hanger with clothes falling to the ground. Chen Xian and Lu Mingyang were holding a pile of clothes that had been dried and stood at the stairway leading to the third floor, looking at them in shock and disbelief. Chen Xian went to the rooftop terrace to get clothes to dry, and Lu Mingyang also came over to help. When picking up the clothes, they found that a white lining was missing. They searched around for a while but couldn't find it, so they gave up. There seemed to be clothes thieves around here, and they would occasionally lose clothes. The two of them carried their clothes and went downstairs to the second floor. They happened to witness Li Jie and Bai Wei kissing passionately, and they were stunned. Isn't Senior Bai Wei Xiao Jiao's best friend? Is it true that a good girlfriend is rude? Seeing Li Jie and Bai Wei looking at them, Chen Xian and Lu Mingyang were a little flustered. They seemed to have stumbled upon something they shouldn't have seen. Senior, let's come up and get the clothes. After Chen Xian finished speaking, she winked at Lu Mingyang, and then the two of them quickly walked downstairs as if they were running away. Because he was walking too fast and in a panic, Lu Mingyang's foot slipped and he almost fell. Seeing their figures disappearing at the top of the stairs, Li Jie withdrew his gaze in amusement. Bai Wei suddenly pushed him away and quickly returned to the room. The door slammed shut. Only then did Li Jie realize that the duck he had obtained flew away again. It seems that it will take some time to figure out whether it is C and or D dash. This is a puzzle that has troubled him for a long time. Thinking of this, Li Jie turned around and wanted to go back to the room. He also had to serve Xiao Jiao, that little drunk cat. However, he suddenly caught a glimpse of something from the corner of his eye, and stopped and walked over to pick up the piece of clothing that had fallen to the ground. Chen Xian and Lu Mingyang walked in such a hurry and in a panic that they forgot to pick up the clothes that fell on the ground. Li Jie looked at the small white sling in his hand and decided to send it back. There seems to be something wrong with taking a girl's clothes back to her room. In the room, Bai Wei leaned against the door, with a faint smile on her face. Skilled hunters often appear as prey. Compared to Zhou Ziyu, Bai Wei is undoubtedly a better hunter. On the first floor, Chen Xian and Lu Mingyang ran back to the room, closed the door, and then breathed a sigh of relief. The two of them looked at each other, and Lu Mingyang said hesitantly, "Senior, do you think Senior Xiao Jiao knows? Who in the school doesn't know that Xiao Jiao and Bai Wei are best friends, but now her best friend is having an affair with her boyfriend behind her back? How hurtful is this?" Lu Mingyang's idle aura towards Bai Wei was completely shattered, and he felt sympathy for Xiao Jiao. Chen Xian shook her head and said, "Okay, don't think about it too much. This is not our business." After working as an anchor for 2 years, her thoughts are no longer as simple as before. There are many things in this world that are right and wrong, and it is difficult to distinguish between right and wrong. She also sympathized with Xiao Jiao, but knew that there was nothing she could do and nothing she could do. Neither of them would have imagined that Xiao Jiao turned out to be a different kind of person who was strict with others. Dong dong, Suddenly there was a knock on the door. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 534. Chen Xian and Lu Mingyang looked at each other. It's so late, who would come here? Could it be Li Zhezang who came here to find him? Lu Mingyang panicked again. She came to the door, looked out through the peephole, and couldn't help but exclaimed, "Ah, it's really, Li Zhezi has grown up." Halfway through her words, she reacted and quickly lowered her voice. The sound insulation of this kind of self-built house is not very good. Senior, what should we do? Don't panic, it's okay, Chen Xian said calmly. Just now she accidentally bumped into Li Zhe, and by way, she was so shocked and a little panicked. Thinking about it now, with Li Zhe's character, it is unlikely that he would argue with them over this matter. With this in mind, Chen Xian walked over and opened the door, looking at Li Zhe outside the door with questioning eyes. Senior, are you looking for us? Li Zhe chuckled lightly and took out the clothes he picked up from his back. Your clothes fell off. Chen Xian was stunned for a moment when she saw what he had in his hand, and quickly took the clothes over. Thank you, Senior, I'm really troubling you. Her face was slightly red. Chen Xian has a cheerful and generous personality. She is not the kind of girl who blushes easily and is shy. In addition, she has been an anchor for 2 years, so she is even more open-minded. There are so many men telling dirty jokes and driving cars in her live broadcast room. But for some reason, she couldn't help feeling a little strange when she thought of her underwear falling into Li Zhe's hands. Lu Mingyang, who was standing by the door and looking out, was also surprised. She didn't expect that Li Zhe just came to change clothes. It's okay, you guys, go get some rest early. After Li Zhe finished speaking, he was about to leave. Senior, Chen Xian called out to him. Seeing Li Zhe looking at her with questioning eyes, she hesitated and said, Senior, we didn't see anything just now, and we definitely won't talk outside. Li Zhe smiled nonchalantly and said, It's okay, you two, don't think too much about it. As he spoke, he glanced at Lu Mingyang at the door. Lu Mingyang was so frightened that he shrank his head. Her overreaction made him laugh. This elementary school girl is quite funny. Okay, I'm leaving. Senior, Chen Xian called him again. Why, do you still have something to do? Senior, do you have time? I have something to ask you. Li Zhe looked at her and nodded. Okay, then where can we talk? Senior, why don't you come in and sit for a while? Li Zhe walked into the room and looked around, and found that Chen Xian's room was also about 50 square meters in size, and was very warmly decorated. Senior, please sit down quickly, Chen Xian greeted. After saying that, she said to Lu Mingyang, go to the refrigerator and get some bottles of drinks for the senior. Okay, Lu Mingyang quickly ran to the kitchen. Soon, she poked her head in the kitchen and said, there's no more drinks in the refrigerator. I just need to drink water, Li Zhe said. There's no more water, so all that's left is beer. Then get a few cans of beer, Chen Xian said. Okay, Lu Mingyang trotted back holding a few cans of beer. Chen Xian opened a can of beer for Li Zhe and said, Senior, I'm sorry, please just make do with it. It's okay, Li Zhe picked up the beer and took a sip. Why, are you still drinking? Well, I'm tired from the live broadcast. I'll drink some to relax after the broadcast. Chen Xian also opened a can for herself. She turned around and noticed that Lu Mingyang was still standing. Yang Yang, why are you still standing? Sit down too. Lu Mingyang glanced at her, then at Li Zhe, and said a little cautiously, Senior sister, you can talk to the senior. I will go back to the room and won't disturb you too. She does not live with Chen Xian, but also rents a room by herself. It's just that she always likes to stay in Chen Xian's room. Don't bother you two anymore? Chen Xian and Li Jie looked at each other subconsciously. Why was Lu Minjiang's words so ambiguous? It seemed like there was some personal relationship between them. Yang, please sit down too. What I ask the senior for advice is also useful to you. There is no harm in listening more. Oh, Lu Mingyang said softly, and then sat down next to Chen Xian. Xiao Xian, what do you want to say? Li Jie picked up the beer and took another sip. Senior, as you said, anchoring is a job for young people, and it won't last long. I just want to wait for another year or two to stop being popular, and then switch to something else, but I don't know what to do. Quite confused. Chen Xian wanted Li Jie to give him some advice. A genius like Li Jie has far superior vision and knowledge than ordinary people. A little guidance will benefit her a lot. Just like if she had not come to Hongchen Normal University and had no contact with Li Jie, she would not have become an anchor. In just 2 years, she made a fortune that could change her destiny. But the gap in status made it difficult for her to have the opportunity to meet Li Jie, let alone take the time to ask him for advice. Tonight is undoubtedly a rare opportunity. If she misses it, it will be difficult to meet again in the future. After listening to Chen Xian's words, Li Jie did not answer her question directly, but asked, Xiao Xian, you are born in the 1990s, right? Chen Xian nodded, well, I was born in 1990. Then your parents are both born in the 1960s. Right. In our parents' generation, jobs were assigned and the emphasis was on the iron rice bowl. Once you work in a work unit or factory, you will work for a lifetime. But now, except within the system, there are few jobs that can last a lifetime. There are fewer and fewer iron rice bowls. This trend of change will become more and more obvious in the future. Even within the system, stability may not always be possible. At this point, Li Jie stopped. Chen Xian thought for a while and said, Senior, are you saying that jobs will become more and more unstable in the future, and we have to adapt to these social changes? Yes, that's what I mean, Li Jie smiled. This Chen Xian is really smart and has some ideas. Anchors are young people. Is being a flight attendant a young person? Is being a programmer a young person? Except for a few professions, most professions will have a midlife crisis. Therefore, you should make plans early while you are young. If it were other anchors under the company, Li Jie would never tell them so much, because it would be in vain and they would not listen at all. Because money is so abundant, many anchors spend money lavishly. They buy nice cars and various luxuries, and then squander all the money they earn. They don't have any plans for the future, and they just muddle along. No, it's not that they have no plans at all. They all want to find a rich man to marry while they are young and beautiful, and live a more enjoyable life. But where do so many rich people come from in this world? Chen Xian is one of the few anchors who is relatively practical. She spends all the money she earns on buying a house and saving. She rarely buys luxury goods except for necessary fashion. Lu Mingyang sat aside and listened to Li Jie's words, feeling half understood. She just felt that what the other person said made sense, but she couldn't tell exactly why it made sense. She turned to look at Chen Xian and found that she was listening attentively, and looked at Li Jie with eyes full of admiration and admiration. Lu Mingyang sighed in his heart, feeling a little bored. He opened a can of beer and drank it slowly. Xiao Xian, in fact, since your conditions are so good, you might as well find a man with the right conditions to get married. That way you will be more stable. Chen Xian was stunned when she heard this. She didn't expect that Li Jie's suggestion would be for her to get married. I don't want to get married too early. She paused and then said, is it stable once you get married? What if he cheats on you later? What if something happens to your finances? Instead of putting all my hopes on others, I want to rely on myself. Li Jie looked at her and couldn't help but smile. Senior, can't I, a girl, have to rely on you men and not myself? Seeing him smile, Chen Xian asked a little unconvinced. After becoming an anchor, she came into contact with too many men of all kinds. The more men she comes into contact with, the less Chen Xian can believe in men. There are many men who have girlfriends, even married, and they still pursue her. There was even a man who was not willing to give his wife a piece of clothing or buy a favorite toy for his child, but he spent all his salary to reward her, and he even showed off to her about it. After Chen Xian heard this, she blocked him directly. She really looked down on such a man and didn't want to accept such money anymore. That's not what I meant. Li Jie smiled and shook his head. I didn't realize that the Xiaoxian is still an independent woman, and Zhou Tsuyu is not as good as her in this regard. He suddenly remembered Andy, the female star who married into a wealthy family through a flash marriage. She thought that by marrying into a wealthy family, she could quit the entertainment industry, raise a husband and raise children, and live the life of a rich wife from a wealthy family. But she didn't want her husband to be a swindler. His investment failed just after getting married and he was saddled with huge debts. She can only come back to work hard in filming to pay off her husband's debt. She really married a wealthy second generation. Xiaoxian, if you want to be independent, you must learn to manage money. Money has been depreciating. Preserving value is more important than making money. If you can beat inflation, you will be the winner. How can that beat inflation? It's very simple. Turn money into assets and buy whatever will appreciate the fastest. Xiaoxian, do you know how much housing prices were in Shanghai 10 years ago? Have no idea. With more than 3,000 square meters per square meter, you can buy 2 bedrooms and 1 living room for less than 300,000. Then do you know how much the house prices in Shanghai are now? It seems, the average price is almost 25,000. Chen Xian has been paying more attention to house prices since she bought a house last year. She is very happy to see that house prices have been rising. The price of the community she bought was less than 35,000 yuan last year, but now it's 42,300 yuan, an increase of 7,000 to 8,000 yuan per square meter. From more than 3,000 square meters to 25,000 square meters, it has almost increased 7 times in 10 years. After making this calculation in her mind, Chen Xian's eyes suddenly lit up. Li Jie looked at her and continued, do you know what the development trend will be in the next 10 or 20 years? What is it? Chen Xian came to her senses and asked quickly. Li Jie smiled, but did not continue. Instead, he asked, Xiaoxian, how many fans do you have? It's over 9 million, and it can't rise now. With over 9 million fans, if one person gives you more than $1, that's 10 million. Chen Xian shook her head lightly. How is this possible? Not everyone will reward the anchor. Besides, I really have more than 9 million fans. Many of my fans are. She didn't say in the second half of the sentence that the fans' fraud was caused by the platform, that is, it was done by the big boss Li Jie. Why is it impossible? As long as you have fans, you can monetize your business. You have been advertising for businesses, but you have never thought about setting up an online store yourself, and then using your popularity to attract traffic to the online store, or even setting up your own brand in the future. Li Jie paused and said, this is the correct way to monetize your popularity. How much money can you make just by relying on rewards from a few big brothers? The biggest trend in the next 10 or 20 years is the traffic economy. Whoever is famous can make money. The internet is essentially a game of grabbing traffic and users. Chen Xian was stunned for a moment after hearing this. She felt that her heart suddenly became enlightened and her confusion about the future disappeared. Senior, thank you so much, her tone was extremely solemn. Chen Xian knew very well that Li Jie would never say these words to others easily. He really took care of her beyond ordinary. This favor was too great. He is truly a business genius. One sentence is enough to change the fate of ordinary people. Then think about those rich second generations who only low-key show off their wealth and show off their status in front of her. It is simply incomparable. Chen Xian suddenly remembered a saying, "Don't meet someone who is too stunning when you are young, otherwise you will be regretful for the rest of your life." Li Jie smiled nonchalantly, "I'm just telling you what I think. The key depends on how you understand and act." In fact, Shen Xinyi has already done what he told Chen Xian. She recently opened an online store and plans to move the boutique business online and use her popularity to attract traffic. However, Shen Xinyi didn't have much enterprising spirit, that is, he just opened an online store and made some money on a small scale, but it was difficult to make the business big. I wonder what step this Xiaoxian can take. It's probably just a small fight, and she doesn't look like a strong woman. Only vision is not enough for doing business, what is more important is execution and perseverance. If you want to succeed, you must not only be ruthless to others, but also be ruthless to yourself. Li Jie raised his hand to look at the time and found that it was already past midnight, so he stood up and said, "Okay, it's very late. I'm going back. Senior, let me see you off." Chen Xian also stood up. Li Jie did not move, his eyes fell on Lu Mingyang beside her. She seemed to have had a little too much to drink, her face turned red and she leaned on the sofa in a daze. Chen Xian looked at her and said with a smile, "Yan Jiang's drinking capacity is very light, and he only pours it from one can." "I think you two have a good relationship," Li Jie asked. "Well, Yang Yang is very innocent and has no scheming at all." Chen Xian paused and said with a sigh, "Actually, Yang Yang is not suitable for the anchor world." Li Jie didn't answer after hearing this. Girls are too innocent and beautiful. If they have no background, it is often a disaster rather than a blessing. "Shall we take her back to the room?" Chen Xian said and leaned over to pick up Lu Mingyang, but it was a bit difficult and she quickly put her down again. She breathed a sigh of relief and said, "Senior, please help me. Although this Yang Yang looks thin, he is really a bit heavy." Li Jie reached out and picked up Lu Mingyang from the sofa. He felt that she only weighed more than 90 kilograms. Compared to her height of over 160 years old, this weight was considered too thin. This Xiaoxian's physical fitness is not good. She is 170 centimeters tall but cannot even lift up Lu Mingyang, who is in his early 160s. Where to send her? Just send her to my room. Don't send her back when she's drunk, Chen Xian said. Li Jie carried Lu Mingyang to the bedroom and put her on the bed. Just when he was about to let her go, Lu Mingyang suddenly hugged him and murmured softly, "Xian Xian, are you done talking to him? It's a shame that I was so, admiring him, so scumbag." Although Lu Mingyang didn't mention his name, Li Jie knew as soon as he heard it that he was referring to him. Chen Xian whispered from behind, "Senior, Yang Yang is drunk, don't take her seriously." "Don't worry, don't say she's drunk. Even if she's not drunk, I can't argue with a little girl like her." Li Jie smiled self-deprecatingly and continued, "Besides, I am indeed not a good man." After the two came out of the bedroom, Li Jie was about to leave. "I'm leaving." "Senior." Chen Xian came to him, opened her arms and hugged him tightly. "Senior, no matter what others think, in my heart you are a good man." The beauty took the initiative to throw herself into her arms, but Li Jie sighed softly in his heart. He is an old scumbag, ahem, he is such a good old man, how could he not see what Chen Xian is thinking? If he takes advantage of the situation and does something, more than 95% of the time Chen Xian will not refuse. But he really doesn't want to provoke any more girls, especially a good girl like Chen Xian. Chen Xian is a bit cautious, but this does not affect her being a good girl. He stroked her back gently. Thank you, you are also a very good and outstanding girl. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 535. Chen Xian stood at the door, watching Li Zhe's figure disappear at the top of the stairs. She felt very complicated, disappointed, but also felt a little comforted. She has heard a lot of tidbits about Li Zhe. He has had scandals with many celebrities under the company, including Lu Yufei, Yang Fengxian, Luan Xiaolin, Zhao Yuhuan, Nini, Wang Zhaining, Sun Wanning, Su Yani. Chen Xian was dubious about these gossips. She knew that Li Zhe was a bit of a philanderer and had several girlfriends, but she didn't believe that he would really accept everyone who came. Now it turns out that her idea was right. Most of those tidbits were false and made up. If Li Zhe really did not reject anyone who came, he would not be able to let her go tonight. You are also a very good and outstanding girl, Chen Xian repeated softly to herself. When Li Zhe woke up the next day, it was already past 8 o'clock. Xiao Jiao, who was sleeping next to him, got into his arms at some point and held her tightly like an octopus. Why did the Xiao Jiao take off all his clothes again? Last night, he was afraid that she would not sleep comfortably, so he helped her take off her clothes and put on her pajamas. Now the pajamas she was wearing were gone. If they had hugged each other like this when they first got together, Li Zhe would definitely let Xiao Jiao know the cost of seducing him, but now he has no such intention. No matter how beautiful your girlfriend is, she will lose her freshness after being together for a long time, which is inevitable for everyone. Li Zhe's mind suddenly flashed back to the scene where Chen Xian opened her arms and hugged him last night. Sure enough, what you can't get is the best. It is impossible to say that he has no regrets at all. If a beautiful girl with a pure, beautiful body and a good figure takes the initiative to throw herself into her arms, what man would not be attracted to her? If he hadn't refused last night, maybe the person in his arms now would be Chen Xian. It's hard to be a good man. Li Zhe gently moved Xiao Jiao's legs and arms away from him, stood up and sat up from the bed. Although his movements were very gentle, Xiao Jiao was still awakened by the shock. He stretched lazily and said with a smile, "Honey, you're awake. I seem to have drunk too much last night. How did I get back?" "Zhou and Bai Wei sent you back," Li Zhe said, taking the clothes and getting ready to put them on. Xiao Jiao coquettishly hugged his Yao from behind. "Honey, why are you up so early? It's getting late, it's almost 9 o'clock. Did you forget that you have a defense today? The defense will not be answered until after 10 o'clock. Why are you in a hurry? How about we first?" She didn't finish the second half of the sentence and hesitated for a moment. Li Zhe pretended not to understand. "What first? Why don't you want to?" "Forget it," Xiao Jiao let him go and said a little unhappy. This big pig's hooves, when they first got together, he used various tricks to bully her, but now he is tired of her, and she refuses to fulfill her obligations. Seeing that the president was a little upset, Li Zhe turned around, stretched out his hand and lightly scratched her nose, and said with a smile, "Okay, let's do it first, but..." He whispered something in her ear. "Senior," Xiao Jiao was stunned for a moment and looked at him with strange eyes. "What weird things are you thinking about again? You're not trying to catch the attention of some elementary school girl, are you?" Li Zhe coughed twice to cover up. "What are you talking about? Where did I come from as a primary school girl? This Xiao Jiao's intuition is really accurate. Am I talking nonsense? Then why do you feel so guilty?" Xiao Jiao looked at him, his eyes becoming more and more suspicious. "Isn't this guy Li Zhe hooking up with another little vixen? It is very likely that the little girls nowadays are better at dressing up than the last one. Okay, don't think too much, let's hurry up and get down to business." "No, please make it clear first." "Well, Her mouth was blocked by Li Jie. By the time Li Jie and Xiao Jiao finished their business, it was already 10 o'clock. Xiao Jiao started to get dressed eagerly. Li Jie glanced at her and said a little funny, "Jiao Bao, didn't you say you weren't in a hurry? Why are you not in a hurry? I will defend at 10:20, and it's almost 10 o'clock. Xiao Jiao paused and said angrily, "I blame you. I told you to hurry up, but you didn't listen." Li Jie was speechless after hearing this. This Xiao Jiao was really a slap in the face. She had insisted on pestering him, but now she was placing all the blame on him. Xiao Jiao got dressed, picked up the bag hanging on the hanger and ran out. Li Jie stopped her. "Jiao Bao, you don't want to have breakfast? Don't eat, there's no time. I asked Zhou Chao and the others to buy food. Why don't you bring some to eat on the way?" "Forget it, I won't bring it anymore." Xiao Jiao still shook his head. She felt uncomfortable after drinking last night and had no appetite. She opened the door and was about to run downstairs. The door next to her suddenly opened, and Bai Wei, dressed in professional attire, walked out. Xiao Jiao paused and said, "Sister Wei, why are you here?" Bai Wei hummed and said, "It was a little late last night, so I didn't go back and stayed here." "Oh, that's it? Sister Wei, I won't tell you any more, I will be late for my defense." After Xiao Jiao finished speaking, he hurried downstairs. At this time, Li Jie also walked out of the room. He glanced at Xiao Jiao's retreating back, chuckled, turned to Bai Wei and said, "This Xiao Jiao is always frivolous in his work." Bai Wei glanced at him, with a hint of a meaningful smile on her lips. "Why are you laughing?" Li Jie noticed the smile on her face. "It's nothing." Bai Wei shook her head slightly, but the smile on her face became even stronger. The soundproofing of this self-built house was not very good, so she could clearly hear what was going on next door. "Next door is Li Jie and Xiao Jiao's room. I'm leaving first too," Bai Wei said and was about to leave. "She also has to attend the defense." But Li Jie stopped her with a smile, "Don't worry, let's make it clear first, what are you laughing at?" Bai Wei said nothing and wanted to go around him. Li Jie directly pulled her into his arms and threatened, "If you don't tell me any more, I will torture her to extract a confession." In fact, he had already guessed what Bai Wei was laughing at. But the answer is not important, what is important is the process of torture. Bai Wei looked at him calmly, but still said nothing. Her expression seemed to say that she didn't believe what he dared to do. Li Jie felt that the string in his heart was stirred. "You still don't want to say it, right?" He sipped it, slowly approached her rosy lips, and was about to kiss her. But at this moment, someone suddenly shouted from behind, "What are you two doing?" Li Jie and Bai Wei were startled at the same time. They turned their heads and looked back, and saw Xiao Jiao standing not far away, staring at them aggressively. "I am having an affair with my girlfriend or her best friend, and what should I do if my girlfriend bumps into me? I asked online, it was quite urgent." "Jiao Bao, why are you back?" Li Jie quickly let go of Bai Wei and said coquettishly. With his thick skin, he felt a little embarrassed. Xiao Jiao snorted heavily and glared at Li Jie, "Why am I back? Of course you don't want me to come back and ruin your good deeds. You guy, on the surface you say you have no idea about Sister Wei, but you take advantage of her by taking advantage of her behind my back." "Xiao Jiao, I'm sorry." Bai Wei's face was full of apology, but she hesitated to speak. Xiao Jiao smiled at her and said, "Okay, Sister Wei, you don't have to apologize. I know it has nothing to do with you. This guy must have forced you. You are so beautiful, how can this little girl really hold back?" As she said that, she glared at Li Jie again. "You don't allow me to bully Sister Wei behind my back anymore, do you understand? Otherwise, I will never be done with you. If you want to bully her, you must get my permission first." After listening to the first half of Xiao Jiao's words, Li Jie thought she had regretted her decision to bring him and Bai Wei together. But the second half of her sentence almost made him duck. This Xiao Qiao's words and deeds are really unexpected. He subconsciously turned to look at Bai Wei and found that her expression was indescribably weird. Xiao Qiao then said to Bai Wei, "Sister Wei, you don't have to feel sorry for me. I said that we are best friends and can share everything, and he does the same." As she said that, she glanced at Li Jie. "Besides, this guy is flirting with people everywhere. Instead of taking advantage of those little vixens outside, it's better to take advantage of you and let us sisters digest it internally." What a wonderful internal digestion. After Xiao Qiao finished speaking, he looked at Li Jie and said, "Are you happy now? Sister Wei and I will accompany you together from now on. Don't you men all like sisters?" Ahem. Li Jie coughed twice in embarrassment. This Xiao Qiao really understood the man's little thoughts. What bad thoughts can a man have? It's nothing more than a soft spot for beautiful sisters, and it would be even better if they were twins. However, he is different from those superficial men who simply want to take care of Bai Wei. "I really have no interest in sisters or anything like that." "Qiao Bao, don't you still want to answer the question?" "Oh, I forgot about my defense," Xiao Qiao suddenly realized. It's really late this time. She quickly ran into the room, looked around, and found her mobile phone on the bedside table. She forgot her cell phone. This time she came back specially to get it, but she didn't want to catch Li Jie bullying Bai Wei. Taking the mobile phone and coming outside, Xiao Qiao took Bai Wei's arm and said, "Sister Wei, let me go together so that this guy won't bully you again." After saying that, she glared at Li Jie again. Li Jie watched the two of them disappear at the top of the stairs, let out a sigh of relief, and showed a smile on his lips. This Xiao Qiao is really out of tune. However, it's good to have such an obscure girlfriend. Where else could the sisters come from? After going downstairs and outside, Bai Wei and Xiao Qiao got into the BMW 530i together. "Xiao Qiao, I'm sorry," Bai Wei looked at Xiao Qiao with an extremely complicated expression. Although Xiao Qiao has been trying to match her up with Li Jie, she still feels guilty after she really decides to accept Li Jie. After all, she could see that Xiao Qiao really treated her as a biological sister. Xiao Qiao smiled and said, "Sister Wei, I told you that you don't have to feel sorry for me. I really hope you can accept him. With you by my side, I will have help. Besides, this way we don't have to be separated anymore and can be together forever." She paused, looked at Bai Wei and said seriously, "Sister Wei, can we be sisters for life?" Bai Wei met her gaze and nodded heavily, "Okay." The two hugged each other tightly. Xiao Qiao held Bai Wei, feeling very complicated. Who wants to share a man with others? Even if that person is his best friend who is as close as a sister. But facing more and more love rivals, she urgently needs a helper. What's more, instead of taking advantage of the vixens outside, it's better to take advantage of one's own people. If she could have facilitated the two of them earlier, Wang's Haining might not have been a problem. Teaching on the third floor, Xiwen building. The classroom was a little noisy. A group of girls gathered around Lu Kaiu and chatted in a hurry. He's Higang, Wang's Haiheng, Yang Hao, Cheng Xiang and 7 or 8 other boys were also sitting together chatting. There were originally 9 boys in the class, but during my sophomore year, one boy failed too many classes and repeated a grade, so there were only 8 left. Cheng Xiang took out his cell phone, took a look at it and said, "It's already 10 o'clock, why hasn't Jizi come yet?" He had already finished his defense, and he just wanted to wait for Li Jie to come and catch up with him for a while, so he didn't leave. Not just him, many people in the Chinese 2 class thought so. Yang Hao fiddled with his phone, smiled and said, "Brother Jie is so busy, maybe something has delayed him." "Cheng Xiang, after you graduate and return to the capital, what will you do with your girlfriend?" a boy asked. Then it goes without saying that she will definitely come back to the capital with me. Cheng Xiang paused and said with a smile, maybe we will get married soon, and you will all come to have a wedding banquet then. Hearing this, He's Higang and Yang Hao were very surprised and said that it was no problem. A short, thin, fair-skinned boy said, Cheng Xiang, you can do it? There are several couples in our class who broke up before they graduated, and the remaining ones who haven't broken up probably won't last long. Maybe you are the only one and Zhang Yuna. This boy's name is Su Yang. He is from Sichuan province and has a good relationship with Cheng Xiang. The Zhang Yuna he was talking about was Cheng Xiang's girlfriend, a girl in Chinese class 1. After Su Yang finished speaking, he turned to Wang Zhaiheng and said, Zhaiheng, have you broken up with your girlfriend too? Wang Zhaiheng hummed and said nothing. He broke up with his previous girlfriend a long time ago and dated a more beautiful elementary school girl. However, he had to go back to Harbin as soon as he graduated, and the elementary school girl continued to study, so the two had no choice but to break up. He's Higang said to Cheng Xiang with some emotion, Cheng Xiang, you have finally won. You have a house and money at home, and you don't have to worry about anything. He finally understood what Li Jie said about Cheng Xiang when he first started school, what was behind having a household registration in the capital and owning a house in the capital. The vast majority of people struggle all their lives and cannot afford to buy a house in the capital. But Cheng Xiang's family has 3 apartments, which is really impressive. Cheng Xiang said disapprovingly, my family doesn't have much money. Even though we have 2 or 3 houses, my family still insists on letting me take the entrance examination. They say that they can let me go to the Urban Management Bureau through some kind of support, but I don't want to go at all. In fact, what worries him more is that his family does not agree with him and his girlfriend. Su Yang smiled and said, you just pretend, you have 3 apartments at home and you still say you have no money. How expensive are the housing prices in Beijing now? I never knew you were a rich second generation before. I am not considered a rich second generation. No matter how expensive the house price is, it is impossible for my family to sell the house. 1 house is for my parents to live in, 1 for my wedding, and 1 for rent. I have to go to work just like you. I also want to make money. At this moment, the back door of the classroom was pushed open. He's Higang, Yang Hao, and Cheng Xiang heard the noise and looked back, and saw Li Jie walking in with 2 bodyguards, a man and a woman. Brother Jie, Jizi, you're finally here, they surrounded Li Jie in surprise. Not only the boys, but also many girls gathered around when they saw Li Jie coming. A group of people greeted him in all directions, and Li Jie responded one by one with a smile. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanjie. Chapter 536. After chatting lively for a while, the League Secretary Chen Mengting pulled Lu Kaiyu to Li Jie and said with a smile, Big boss, can I take a photo with you and Xiao Yu? Seeing Chen Mengting, Li Jie remembered that Xiao Qiao. If Chen Mengting hadn't recommended him to the Self-Discipline Association in his previous life, he would never have met Xiao Qiao. Of course it's no problem. I won't give anyone face, but I will also give us face. Li Jie stood in the middle, Lu Kaiyu and Chen Mengting stood on either side of him, and Cheng Xiang took the camera and took pictures. Chen Mengting was well prepared and even asked someone to borrow a professional-grade camera. After the 3 of them took a photo together, Li Jie asked Chen Mengting with a smile, after graduation, where are you going to work, party secretary? Lu Kaiyu responded, Mengting is preparing to take the civil service exam. Chen Mengting took the provincial exam last year and missed the mark by 2 points. Li Jie nodded after hearing this, very good. Serve the country by taking the exam. What's the saying? The end of the universe is the establishment. For second-year liberal arts students like Chen Mengting, it would be the best choice if they could take the college entrance examination. Besides, Chen Mengting's personality is more suitable for working in the system. He joked again, maybe next time we meet I will call you the leader. Chen Mengting smiled angrily and said, Li Jie, don't make fun of me, what kind of leader? It's still unclear whether I can pass the exam. Besides, even if I pass the exam, I'm just a small civil servant. How can I compare with a big entrepreneur like you? Cheng Xiang interjected, my family also asked me to take the exam and become an urban management officer, but I don't want to go. Li Jie gave him a strange look and said, Xiangzi, you must cherish the opportunity. How many civil servants in the capital want to get in but can't? As he spoke, he glanced at Chen Mengting. What chance do you have? Just a city manager. What can you do with more than 3,000 yuan a month in the capital? It means you can't eat enough and you can't starve to death. Cheng Xiang paused and then said, Jizi, if my family didn't agree, I would have gone to Shanghai to hang out with you. Li Jie shook his head in his heart. He was so young that he didn't know how to make things. 10 years later, in the eyes of many girls and their families, tens of millions of assets would not be worth a capital establishment. However, the economy is developing rapidly now. In the eyes of some ambitious young people, joining the system and earning dead wages is far inferior to going to a large company, a foreign company, or starting your own business. A girl glanced at Lu Kaiyu and said with a smile, Li Jie, when will you and Xiaoyu get married? We are still waiting to drink your wedding wine. This girl's name is Hinai, and she is Lu Kaiyu's roommate. Yes, when you two get married, you must send us invitations. The other girls also followed suit. It's not like these girls in the class don't know that Xiao Qiao is Li Jie's real girlfriend. But whether it is in terms of interests or feelings, they are definitely more inclined to Lu Kaiyu. Li Jie looked at Lu Kaiyu and found that she had a smile on her face, like an outsider, but there was still a trace of hope in her eyes. Don't worry, I will definitely let you drink the wedding wine. He seemed to be saying this to these girls, but he looked at Lu Kaiyu. After hearing what Li Jie said, these girls were a little surprised. They didn't expect that he could really give the answer. Chen Mengting reacted the fastest and said with a smile, then it's settled, we're just waiting to drink your wedding wine. At this time, Cheng Xiang said, Jizi, let's take a photo together so that I can show off when I return to the capital. He was afraid that Li Jie would be in trouble, so he was helping him out. Brother Jie, and me, let's shoot together. Yang Hao quickly followed. He's Higang also said, how about we take a photo together? A girl said, there are us girls, you, the big boss, can't favor one over the other. Yes, you can't favor one over the other, other girls also said one after another. None of them want to miss the opportunity to take a photo with a billionaire like Li Jie. This photo can be shown off for a lifetime. Seeing that the scene was a bit chaotic, Li Jie pressed his hand and said, let's all take a picture together. Just when they were about to take a group photo, a female teacher in her 20s, plump and good-looking, walked in. When she saw Li Jie, she was stunned for a moment, showing a look of surprise and surprise. Li Jie, you are back. This female teacher's name is Pan Shumei, and she is the new head teacher of Li Jie's 3 Chinese classes. The original class teacher Yu Yang was transferred to the School Youth League Committee in the second semester of his sophomore year. Pan Shumei is a well-known beautiful teacher at the normal college. The key is that she is not married yet. There are many male teachers who are interested in her, including Li Jie and his former class teacher Yu Yang. Yu Yang is over 30 and not yet married. Teacher Pan. Li Jie was not familiar with Pan Shumei. He had met her once before and chatted for a few words. Are you taking a group photo? Pan Shumei asked with a smile. Teacher Pan, would you like to shoot with us? Chen Mengting invited with a smile. Okay, Pan Shumei agreed immediately. So more than 30 classmates in the class, including class teacher Pan Shumei, took a group photo together. Li Jia asked Pan Shumei to take the C position, and he stood beside her. Chen Mengting, Cheng Xiang, and He Zhigang, the class leaders, stood behind them. As for ordinary students, they could only stand further back. After taking the group photo, Pan Shumei smiled and said, "Li Jia, can we take another photo alone?" Okay, Li Jia must give the head teacher's face. As soon as he took a photo with Pan Shumei, Yang Hao hurriedly said, "Brother Jia, shall we take a photo alone?" A group photo is too inconspicuous, nothing compared to a group photo that is as prestigious as taking a group photo alone. Before Li Jia could answer, He Zhigang said, "Hazi, wait a minute. Let Jizi and I take a photo first." "Let me take a photo with Jizi first," Cheng Xiang said. As soon as he finished speaking, a girl said again, "Li Jia, you can't just take photos with men, there are us girls too." "Yes, girls have priority. If you want to take the photo, we girls should take the photo first," the girls agreed one after another. Some boys retorted, "You girls have too many people, but there are only a few of us boys. We should start with less and then more." They fought against each other for a photo opportunity. The main reason is that this opportunity is really rare. If you had the opportunity to take a photo with a jack horse, how would people fight for it? Li Jia shook his head in his mind and raised his hand to look at the time. "Why don't we take pictures later? It's almost time and I should go for my defense." He wasn't familiar with most of the people in the class, so he didn't have the mood or energy to take pictures with them one by one. The classroom for the defense was just opposite. Seeing Li Jia walk in, the 4 instructors, 2 men and 2 women, stood up enthusiastically. "Classmate Li Jia." "Hello, teachers," Li Jia greeted the instructors politely. After some polite greetings, Li Jia walked up to the podium and gave a brief introduction to his thesis. Then several instructors casually asked 2 questions and the defense ended. Afterwards, the 2 parties chatted for a while. When the time was almost up, Li Jia was ready to say goodbye and leave. A normal defense only lasts about 10 minutes, but he stayed for more than 20 minutes. A male teacher in his 50s, with a plump figure and a bit of a Mediterranean, suggested with a smile, "Mr. Li, how about we take a photo together to commemorate it?" During the defense, the relationship between the 2 parties is that of teacher and student, but not after the defense. A female teacher in her 30s or 40s followed closely and said, "I happen to have a camera with me." What's just right? It was obviously prepared specially by them. For these teachers, the opportunity to become Li Jia's defense tutor was an unexpected surprise, and they all wanted to take the opportunity to form a good relationship with him. Maybe they could put this relationship to good use sometime. After taking photos with several teachers, Li Jia came out of the defense room. As soon as he returned to the waiting room, he was surrounded by his classmates again. "Brother Jia, Jizi, let's take a photo alone, XN. It's too slow to take pictures one by one. I have something to do later. Let's take a group photo with a few people. It will go faster." While Li Jia was being surrounded by his classmates for a group photo, in the ball game hall of Shanghai Normal University, Zhou Ziyu, who was wearing a bachelor's degree uniform, was sitting in a dark crowd of students who were also wearing bachelor's degree uniforms, listening to the school leaders speaking on the stage. Today is the day when they hold their graduation ceremony and award their degrees. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 537. Several school leaders finished their speeches in turn, and after a round of applause, a female vice principal read out the decision to commend outstanding graduates. Outstanding graduates came to the stage to receive commendations, and school leaders presented awards to the winning students. The first ones to take the stage were doctoral and graduate students, and lastly it was the undergraduates' turn. Zhou Ziyu looked a little relaxed. Yu Xiangzi, who was sitting next to her, touched her and said, "Ziyu, what are you thinking about? It's your turn to go on stage to receive the award." Only then did she come back to her senses, smiled at Yu Xiangzi, stood up and walked to the podium with other outstanding graduates. The person who issued the honorary certificate to Zhou Ziyu was the female vice principal who just announced the decision to commend outstanding graduates. She handed the certificate to Zhou Ziyu and said softly while shaking hands, "Ziyu, you really don't plan to stay in school?" "President Li, thank you for your appreciation, but I have no idea of going to graduate school yet." "Okay then," Vice Principal Li showed a trace of regret on his face. Best-selling beauty writers like Zhou Ziyu are extremely popular and influential among young people, which is of great benefit to increasing the school's popularity and enrollment rate. In order to keep her, the school offered her the conditions of being exempted from taking exams and guaranteeing graduate school, and also supported her to study abroad for 1 year at public expense, but Zhou Ziyu refused without hesitation. Xiao Qiao is coming to Normal University to study for graduate school, and if she wants to stay for graduate school as well, it seems like she is deliberately trying to get in trouble with him. More importantly, she will show her pregnancy in a month or two, so how can she come to school? After the commendation, the outstanding student representatives spoke. After the doctoral and graduate student representatives finished their speeches, Zhou Ziyu once again stepped onto the podium amidst thunderous applause. The popularity far exceeded the two students who spoke before, and the boys clapped especially vigorously. Yu Xiangzi and Cao Qian looked at Zhou Ziyu walking on the stage with smiles on their faces and applauded vigorously. Zhao Jinja applauded and looked at Zhou Ziyu with the same smile on her face, but her eyes were a little complicated. She was a little jealous of Zhou Ziyu from the beginning, but later she would put down her status and become best friends with him because she wanted to have a relationship with Li Jie. However, after getting along for a long time, the relationship became deeper and deeper. Zhao Jinja really regarded Zhou Ziyu as her best friend, but she suddenly realized that this was just her wishful thinking. Zhou Ziyu never regarded her as her best friend. There are 4 people in the dormitory. Zhou Ziyu has a top-rich boyfriend like Li Jie. Yu Xiangzi and Cao Qian are also from well-off families. They don't have to worry about the future. Only her family has the worst conditions and can only rely on herself for everything. But Zhou Ziyu clearly knew that she needed the opportunity more, but she still gave the most important opportunity to Yu Xiangzi. If she could become Li Jie's personal secretary and work for 2 or 3 years, she would have the opportunity to be transferred to the subsidiary's powerful department as a deputy, leaping from an ordinary employee to the middle management of the company, and her fate would be completely different. Instead of working slowly at the grassroots level like she is now, not knowing when she will be able to make her mark. She was so flattering to Zhou Ziyu, and this was all she wanted. Thinking of this, Zhao Jinja bit her lips and the smile on her face gradually disappeared. Not far from Zhao Jinja and the others, Wang Haining was also sitting with her classmates. Looking at Zhou Ziyu who was speaking on the podium, she couldn't help but yawn. Xiao Junting woke up several times last night, and she didn't even get a good rest. After graduating and returning to school this time, Wang Haining finally found her previous place. When they saw her walking down from Paramela, the expressions of those classmates who had once despised and ridiculed her became extremely wonderful. After the shock, many girls gathered around her to try to get closer to her. Cai Jiayan, who had slandered her in the dormitory, even came over to apologize to her, hoping that she could forgive her and that they would remain friends in the future. This made Wang Haining feel ridiculous and sad. Before, she obviously didn't do anything, but they poured all kinds of sewage on her. But now that she has become someone else's lover, they all come over to admire her and compliment her. It turns out that right or wrong is not important, strength is the most important. Wang Haining also knew that even though these classmates were complimenting her on the surface, they were secretly looking down on her and saying that she was a successful mistress. But so what, not everyone can be Li Zhe's lover, they are not qualified to do it. Li Zhe definitely had a lot of lovers outside, she could guess 4 or 5, but she was the only one who could move in. Linlin, what are you looking at me for? Wang Haining turned her head and suddenly noticed that Zhao Lin, who was sitting next to her, had been staring at her. Zhao Lin is the girl who helped Wang Haining speak out for justice in the dormitory before. Nothing. Zhao Lin smiled at her. Then she couldn't help but say, Haining, I feel that you have changed a lot. What has changed? Wang Haining asked with a smile. I feel like you are more beautiful, more mature, and more feminine. Zhao Lin paused and said, my figure is also better. Wang Haining listened, smiled, and said nothing. She even has a child, so there must be more women asking. Although she just gave birth to a child, Wang Haining's figure has not lost its shape at all, but has become even better. She is young, has good physical fitness from dancing since she was a child, and with the guidance of a first-class postpartum rehabilitation therapist, she recovers her figure very quickly. Now that she is in her confinement period, Wang Haining is even more ready to increase the amount of exercise and get her waistline back as soon as possible. She must maintain the most perfect condition in front of Li Zhe and cannot let Zhou Ziyu and others compete. Beauty and body are the most expensive luxuries and require a lot of money to maintain. If you don't have money, don't think about your wife being as beautiful as a flower. Otherwise, even if you do marry a beautiful woman, you won't be able to support her. After a few months, when the child is older, Wang Haining will return to Li Zhe and continue to be his secretary. She could clearly see Zhang Wenjun's clinging thoughts, and she would never let that little fox stay by Li Zhe's side for a long time. And Zhou Ziyu actually sent her best friend to Li Zhe. It's a good thing that she can do it and is not afraid of attracting vixens into the house. Wang Haining doesn't care, and has no right to care about how many women Li Zhe has, but the position of private secretary can only be hers, and those 2 little vixens must be driven away. What a vixen, why is it so hard for a little girl? No, it's a lover, why is it so hard for a lover? With this in mind, Wang Haining's eyes fell on Zhou Ziyu on the rostrum. At this time, Zhou Ziyu had just finished speaking, and the audience remembered another round of thunderous applause. At around 8 o'clock in the evening, the second floor of the Star Restaurant of the Normal University was bustling with people. Li Zhe and his classmates from Class 2 Chinese were having a graduation dinner. Some of them even brought their family members, boyfriends and girlfriends. 30 or 40 people almost occupied the small restaurant. At the last dinner together, everyone let go. Everyone talked to each other, and the atmosphere was very lively. Li Zhe, Lu Kaiyu, and Yang Hao became the central figures, and the students toasted one after another. Just when Yang Hao took the lead in coaxing Li Zhe and Lu Kaiyu to have a drink, several girls came up from downstairs. His Hegang's eyes fell on one of the girls, and he was surprised for a moment, and then stood up with a look of surprise on his face. Menjian, are you coming to eat too? These girls are Huo Menjian and He Lu and Qiunana from her dormitory. Before Huo Menjian could answer, He Lu smiled and said respectfully, Mr. Li, you guys are having dinner together. Mr. Li, Huo Menjian also said hello to Li Zhe. Then she greeted his Hegang again, brother Gang. Li Zhe smiled and nodded at Huo Menjian and the others. Menjian, are you coming here to eat too? Huo Menjian hummed slightly, let's have dinner together in our dormitory. His Hegang said enthusiastically, Menjian, how about you eat with us? Huo Menjian hesitated for a moment, then declined and said, forget it, we won't disturb you anymore. He Lu is Wang Haiheng's ex-girlfriend, and Qiunana is Yang Hao's ex-girlfriend. Their breakup was not very pleasant, so it would be somewhat awkward to stay together again. His Hegang didn't think so much. He only had Huo Menjian in his eyes, and he warmly invited us, how about we all eat together? It's no trouble. It's more lively when there are more people. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 538. Wang Zhaihang suddenly interjected, "Brother Gang, since I don't want to, then forget it." As he spoke, he looked at He Lu coldly, always worrying about the other party's teasing of him before. He Lu just looked at him calmly, as if nothing had happened between them. Li Jie said, "Menjian, there's still room over there, how about you guys eat here?" He Lu smiled and answered, "Menjian, Mr. Li has said so, then let's eat here and don't run away again." "Okay. Mr. Li, we won't bother you then." Seeing that Li Jie had spoken, He Lu did not feel embarrassed, and Huo Menjian did not refuse. Qiu Nana, who was standing next to Huo Menjian, had been staring at Yang Hao. When she and Yang Hao were together, he was nothing. The two had a good time, and Yang Hao took care of her. Of meticulous attention to detail. But after Yang Hao became famous after filming the online drama Online Dating Things, he quickly dumped her and hooked up with a more beautiful elementary school girl. He is no longer as attentive and considerate to her as before, and has become cold and ruthless. After breaking up with Yang Hao, Qiu Nana hated both Yang Hao and Li Jie. If Li Jie hadn't asked Yang Hao to film, Yang Hao wouldn't be famous and the two wouldn't break up. Facing Qiu Nana's resentful and hateful gaze, Yang Hao seemed not to notice it and didn't care at all. Huo Menjian pulled Qiu Nana and said, "Nana, let's go there." Only then did Qiu Nana look away from Yang Hao, and followed Huo Menjian and the others to sit down at an empty table next to them. For Qiu Nana, Huo Menjian sympathized with her and felt that she was too unsatisfactory. After breaking up with Yang Hao, she never came out, especially when she saw that Yang Hao's fame was growing and he was already a popular star in the country. But the fact that the two broke up cannot be blamed on Li Jie. It can only be said that Yang Hao's character is not good. It would be better to recognize each other earlier. "Brother Gang, why are you still thinking about Huo Menjian?" Seeing he's Gang always looking over at Huo Menjian and the others, Yang Hao said with a playful smile. "What's the use of just worrying about her? If you still have thoughts about her, just go over there and confess your love again. It's best if you succeed. If you don't, you'll give up." He felt that he's Gang really overestimated his abilities, had no money, was not good looking, and was always thinking about beautiful women like Huo Menjian. "If you don't have the ability, don't tell me, and you still want to play high-end." Lin Jing hesitated and said, "Brother Gang, doesn't he have a girlfriend?" He had heard Yang Hao's gossip about the matter between He's Gang and Ding Li. "Linzi, don't you know? Brother Gang broke up with that rich woman a long time ago." Yang Hao paused and said to He's Gang, "Brother Gang, I'm not talking about you. You don't cherish such a good opportunity. If you really marry Na Ding Li, you will have to work hard for 20 years. Besides, Ding Li is not bad at all. She is definitely worthy of you. This kid has become more and more arrogant since he became famous. Now that he has drunk some wine and is complimented by a big star from his classmates, he has become even more arrogant. He has no control over his words." He's Gang's face was a little ugly. How could he not tell that Yang Hao was taunting him? "Hazi, please stop talking about me. You are so ruthless. Nana Chiu was so kind to you back then and even washed her underwear and smelly socks for you. But as soon as you became famous, she dumped her. Now when we meet, we don't even say hello." Yang Hao's expression froze, but he soon recovered. "Now that we've broken up, what else can we say? If you want to break it off, just break it off. Besides, given my status, it's not suitable for the two of us to be together. I broke up with Qiu Nana for her own good." "Your identity?" Wang Zhaihang suddenly sneered, "What is your identity? When you broke up with Qiu Nana, Didn't you just rely on Jazzy to play a few supporting roles, and really think of yourself as a big star? Although Wang's Haiheng changed his story mid-sentence, everyone present heard that he was obviously saying that Yang Hao only got some opportunities by flattering Li Jie, otherwise it was nothing. Yang Hao immediately became popular. Ever since he became famous on Running Man, he has been complimented everywhere, and no one dared to ridicule him like this. Old Wang, do you still have the nerve to accuse me? Didn't you also hook up with a beautiful elementary school girl and then dump your girlfriend who was so good to you? Okay, please stop saying a few words, someone suddenly said in a cold voice. Hearing this voice, Yang Hao suddenly felt nervous and stopped thinking. He quickly said, Brother Jie, it's not that I don't recognize people when I become famous. The main reason why I broke up with Chiunana is he didn't want to leave an ungrateful impression on Li Jie. Li Jie looked coldly, okay, you don't need to explain to me. It's Chiunana you're sorry for, not me. After a pause, he looked at Yang Hao and said, you are now a star. As a public figure, you must consider the impact of your actions. Don't fall over because of something like your lower body. There are two more things you must not touch. You must not evade taxes, and you must not touch contraband. If you really commit a crime, don't blame me for being unkind. Brother Jie, don't worry, I will definitely not do anything illegal, Yang Hao promised. He followed up with another sentence, who among you doesn't know that I am an honest person? His honest words made everyone at the table laugh. If Yang Hao was an honest person, there would be no dishonest people in the world. Li Jie didn't smile. He could see that Yang Hao didn't really listen to what he said. However, he was too lazy to care about this kid. He had been given the opportunity. If he didn't know how to cherish it, he would have deserved it if something happened. Girls' dormitory, room 408, 4th floor. Huo Lily was wearing a bachelor's uniform and sitting in front of the computer for a live broadcast. Song Ziona sat next to her and was accompanying her during the live broadcast. Cao Xiaoqian was lying on the bed playing with her mobile phone. Huo Lily's skin is a bit dark, but with the help of beautification and filters, it has become extremely white, and her appearance has also risen to a higher level. She is no worse than Tan Hui, and she is definitely a beauty. Song Ziona has average looks, but she has fair skin, a slightly chubby figure and is quite attractive. The two of them live broadcast together, and the traffic driving effect is surprisingly good. There are nearly 1,000 people in the live broadcast room, the atmosphere is very lively, and the comments are constantly being sent. Some praised Huo Lily and Song Ziona for their beauty, some asked who Song Ziona was, and many people clamored to see the other girls in the dormitory. If you want to see other people, give them more gifts. If there is a carnival, I will pull them all over immediately. Huo Lily has been doing live broadcasts for 2 years, and she can ask for gifts as soon as she opens her mouth. A small anchor like her rarely receives advertisements. Her income mainly comes from tips and a small amount of advertising click sharing, which amounts to 3,000 to 4,000 yuan a month. In addition, since last year, Huo Lily has been working part-time as an e-commerce model, specializing in photographing student women's clothing. Now she earns an average of 6,000 to 7,000 yuan per month, which is more than her income as a host. However, this income is very unstable. In the past 3 years or so, Huo Lily has been working as a game promoter, filming commercials, filming movies, anchoring, and modeling. Not only did she not have to worry about her family's tuition and living expenses, she also saved 150,000 to 60,000 yuan. At first, she was very satisfied and proud that she could make money to support herself before graduating from college. But now that she has made more money, she no longer has the simple satisfaction she had before. She wants to develop in a big city and doesn't want to stay in a third-tier city like Hongcheng. But with her current income, it's difficult to get a foothold in a big city. Cao Xiaoqian, who was lying on the bed playing with her mobile phone, suddenly sat up and said with a smile, Tsuyu and the others held a graduation ceremony, and she also spoke on stage as an outstanding student representative. When Huo Lily and Song Xiona heard this, they turned around and said, Tsuyu and the others held a graduation ceremony. How did you know? How do I know? I just looked at moments. Cao Xiaoqian paused and said, Tsuyu also sent a photo of her and her roommates. Her roommates are also very beautiful. Then let me take a look too, Huo Lily said and picked up the phone. Speaking of which, Xiu and I haven't seen each other for a long time. Song Xiona also picked up her phone and clicked on her circle of friends. Now that we have graduated, we will have less chance to meet each other in the future. Cao Xiaoqian sighed with a sigh. Lily, you are better. You will go to Shanghai to find out. You still have the opportunity to meet Tsuyu often. It will be difficult for Xiona and I to see you again. When it comes to saying goodbye to the three girls, I can't help but feel a little sad. Huo Lily smiled, pretending to be relaxed. It doesn't matter. Xiaoqian and Xiona, just come to Shanghai more often. Xiu and I will be responsible for entertaining you. Okay, then we have an agreement. Cao Xiaoqian and Song Xiona also had smiles on their faces. Having said that, they knew very well that this was just a kind of comfort. Under the barriers of time and distance, it would be difficult for their relationship to be as close as it is now. Many of them are asking who Tsuyu is, Song Xiona said while looking at the messages on the screen. Thank you 12 for the hot air balloon. Sorry, I didn't notice it just now. After thanking the fans, Huo Lily continued, Tsuyu was our former roommate and best friend, but she transferred to another school when she was a sophomore. Does she look beautiful? She is a very beautiful woman, much more beautiful than me. You want to see photos? That's not possible. Song Xiona suddenly interjected, you know that very popular beautiful writer Shen Yu, right? Tsuyu is her. Huo Lily couldn't help but glance at Song Xiona. She didn't mention Zhou identity because she was afraid that if the incident spread, Zhou would misunderstand that she was using her famous name to create hype. As soon as Song Xiona said these words, the live broadcast immediately exploded. Most people are skeptical and don't believe Song Xiona's words, thinking that they are just taking advantage of Zhou's popularity. But soon someone revealed that Chen Yu's real name was Zhou, and that she had actually studied at Hongchen Normal College before, which made many people suspicious. Seeing that they didn't believe it, Song Xiona picked up her phone again, found a photo of Zhou and them, and showed it to them. In this era, PS technology had not yet become widespread. After seeing this photo, most people believed it and asked about Zhou one after another. The popularity of the live broadcast room also increased rapidly. Within 5 or 6 minutes, the number of people in the live broadcast room rose to more than 2,000. After Song Xiona briefly talked about Zhou's preferences, she showered him with gifts. Huo Lily and Song Xiona looked at each other. They didn't expect that Zhou would be so popular, and her former roommate would attract so many people. In fact, as the most popular best-selling beauty author, Zhou's popularity online is no worse than that of those traffic stars. Suddenly a gorgeous gift effect appeared on the screen. Someone was giving a carnival gift. Song Xiona was stunned for a moment and raised her voice excitedly, "Thank you Yubi Liangqun for the carnival. Thank you Yubi Liangqun." She heard Huo Lily say that a carnival costs 3,000 yuan. Thank you for the carnival. Huo Lily's expression was much calmer. Although she didn't receive carnivals often, she could receive them occasionally. Thank you for sending me a call. Thanks for the helicopter. Thank you for the luxurious rocket. Huo Lily originally wanted to stop Song Xiona from taking advantage of Zhou's popularity, but her popularity was too high. The number of people in the live broadcast room continued to rise from more than 2,000 to 3,000, 5,000, 8,000, and the number exceeded half an hour. All in all, the number of people in the live broadcast room exceeds 10,000, which is the treatment received by a popular first-line anchor. Huo Lily has been doing live broadcast for 2 years, and it has never been so popular. The special effects of the gifts were even more continuous. The three of them didn't know how many gifts they had received. They just received several more during the carnival, and all they did was talk about the little things and interesting things they had with Josiu. Yes, there were 3 people. I heard that there were thousands of people watching the live broadcast. Cao Xiaoqian was also attracted to live broadcast together with Huo Lily and Song Xiona. Lily, what are you 3 doing? The dormitory door was pushed open, and Tan Hui walked in. Seeing Huo Lily and the other 3 sitting around the computer, she took a curious look. As soon as she came into the camera, the live broadcast room was instantly flooded with people praising her for being so beautiful. Tan Hui is the kind of delicate beauty who is very popular with LSPS. Song Xiona smiled and said, Xiaowai, Xiaoqian, and I are broadcasting live with Lily, can you also broadcast with us? Tens of thousands of people? Tan Hui was stunned when she heard this. Although she had never done a live broadcast, she had watched Huo Lily's live broadcast and knew that it would be difficult to do it with tens of thousands of people watching in the live broadcast room. No, you can broadcast it, I will. Before she could finish her words, Huo Lily suddenly exclaimed, Hey, what's going on? Why is the network disconnected? Song Xiona and Cao Xiaoqian also said anxiously. Yes, why was the internet disconnected? It's broken, the live broadcast is also interrupted. As soon as the network was cut off, the live broadcast was immediately cut off. Huo Lily fiddled with the computer for a while, then picked up her phone and took a look at it. Then she sighed and said, My wireless network card is in arrears. Lily, what happened? The chain dropped at a critical moment. There are tens of thousands of people watching our live broadcast, Song Xiona said angrily. She was just accompanying Huo Lily during the live broadcast, but she was more concerned about her than the real owner. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 539. This internet card has not been used for a long time. I just wanted to play for a while, so I didn't care. Huo Lily also sounded extremely annoyed. Such a good opportunity was wasted by her. Use my internet card, Cao Xiaoqian said and quickly found her wireless internet card. She also has a laptop, which she got at the annual meeting of Kudong Group the year before last. Lily, if you go up there quickly, you might be able to save some popularity. But when Huo Lily connected to the wireless network and started the live broadcast again, she found that the popularity of the live broadcast room had been cleared. After waiting for 5 or 6 minutes, the number of people only increased to 200 or 300 people and then stopped. This popularity is slightly better than her usual live broadcast. The push mechanism of the platform is that the higher the revenue of the live broadcast room, the greater the traffic pushed. As soon as Huo Lily and others stopped broadcasting, the revenue data began to be recalculated, and the traffic push blessing was gone, and they were immediately knocked back to their original form. Huo Lily, Song Xiona, and Cao Xiaoqian looked at each other and sighed. At this time, the lights in the dormitory suddenly went out. It was already 11 o'clock, in the evening, and it was time to turn off the lights. Friends, I'll leave when the lights go out in the dormitory. We'll see you tomorrow. Huo Lily said and turned off the live broadcast. Compared with the tens of thousands of people before, the gap was too big, and she was not in the mood to continue broadcasting. Hey, what a pity, Song Xiona couldn't help but lamented again. After a pause, she remembered something and said excitedly, That's right. Lily, how many gifts have we received before? It should be more than 20,000, right? Song Ziona remembered that they collected 5 or 6 during the carnival alone, which was almost 20,000 yuan. Yes. Lily, hurry up and see how many gifts you have received, Cao Xiaoqian urged a little excitedly. Let me take a look, Huo Lily said and opened the backstage. Song Ziona and Cao Xiaoqian both leaned their heads and stared at the screen. Cao Xiaoqian hesitated and whispered softly, 483,578 Chu coins, how much is this? Huo Lily took a deep breath and said, it's more than 48,000 yuan. More than 48,000, Song Ziona subconsciously raised her voice. She and Cao Xiaoqian looked at each other and were shocked. Tan Hui, who was sitting at the desk, reading and studying by the light of the desk lamp, also turned her head and glanced at them. In just a short while, we made nearly 50,000 yuan, Song Ziona felt that her entire value system had been subverted. Lily, no wonder you want to be an anchor, the money is so lucrative. Song Ziona's family found her a job through connections, with a salary of more than 1,600 yuan during the internship period and more than 2,200 yuan after becoming a full-time employee. Just playing live for an hour or two earned her nearly 2 years' salary. How can it be so exaggerated? Huo Lily shook her head funnily. The live broadcast room has over 10,000 people, but it's a treatment that only popular anchors can get. We just got lucky tonight. Normally, I only earn 500 to 600 yuan per live broadcast. Besides, the 48,000 yuan is not all ours. The platform will share half of it and deduct taxes, so the actual amount we get is less than 20,000 yuan. That's a lot, it's nearly a year's salary for me, Song Ziona sighed in a complicated tone. Yes, we may not be able to save 10,000 yuan after working for a year, Cao Xiaoqian also said. Didn't I say that it was just a coincidence that I got such a high income tonight? Huo Lily paused and then said, Xiaoqian, the three of us will share the money equally. When the money arrives, I will put it on the card for you too. Cao Xiaoqian was stunned for a moment, and quickly declined, no. Lily, this is the money you earned. Let us share it with you for whatever we can do. We just sat with you for a while. Seeing that Huo Lily had earned her year's salary in such a short time, Cao Xiaoqian was very envious, but she never thought about getting a share of the money. Song Ziona remained silent and did not speak. Huo Lily glanced at the two of them and said with a smile, the three of us live broadcast together, and the money we earn should of course be divided between the three of us. Besides, without you two tonight, there is no way I wouldn't be able to earn so much money. After working as an anchor for 2 years, Huo Lily has seen too many cases where friends who were originally very close have fallen out because of money, and she knows how tempting the benefits are. If she really took the money herself, even if Cao Xiaoqian and Song Ziona didn't say anything on the surface, they would definitely be dissatisfied with her in their hearts. Especially Song Ziona, what she just said was how many gifts we received. Huo Lily didn't think it was a slip of the tongue. It was less than 20,000 yuan, which was more or less. The average for the three of them was just over 6,000 yuan. There was no need to hurt their relationship for several years just because of this little money. What's more, if Cao Xiaoqian and Song Ziona hadn't mentioned Zhou Ziyu and accidentally gained popularity, they wouldn't have made so much money. Cao Xiaoqian wanted to refuse, but turned around and noticed that Song Ziona was silent and didn't speak. She understood something instantly and stopped talking. Okay, it's settled, Huo Lily said again. Song Ziona smiled and said, how about we drink some wine to celebrate? Drinking? But there is no wine in our dormitory, Cao Xiaoqian said. There's a canteen downstairs. Let's go buy a few cans of beer and some food. The canteen that Song Ziona was talking about was a canteen opened by a girl downstairs in the dormitory. It mainly sold instant noodles, snacks, and drinks, and also sold alcohol, but she only dared to sell it secretly and did not dare to show it off. Huo Lily and the three of them went to the canteen downstairs together and bought a beer and a lot of bagged snacks. After returning to the dormitory, they opened the small table, put snacks on it and started drinking. Zai, let's have a drink together, Huo Lily said to Tan Hui, who was still sitting at the desk reading. You guys drink, I won't. Tan Hui raised her head and smiled at Huo Lily and the others. Stop reading and have a drink with us. It will be difficult for us to have a chance to drink together like this in the future. Huo Lily walked over and took Tan Hui's arm and pulled her up. Yes, this may be our last breakup meal, Cao Xiaoqian and Song Ziona also said. Okay, Tan Hui had no choice but to agree. Zai, what are you looking at, working so hard? Huo Lily picked up the book on the table and took a look and found that it was a book called Financial Cost Management. Zai, are you studying accounting? Tan Hui hummed, it never hurts to learn more. Zai, you are working too hard, Huo Lily said with admiration in her tone. Tan Hui had previously passed Set -4 and Set -6, a teacher qualification certificate, and also took a Japanese course as an elective and obtained a Japanese Level 2 certificate. Now she has to take the accounting certificate test. In fact, Tan Hui is not planning to take the accounting certificate exam, but plans to take the CPA, Certified Accountant, exam. The accounting certificate is a professional qualification certificate and is a basic certificate, while the CPA is a certificate that can be practiced in the accounting industry. It is a pass that spans the accounting and financial fields. It has a very high gold content and the exam is extremely difficult. Song Ziona glanced at Tan Hui, but she felt very disapproving. If she hadn't rejected Li Jia at the beginning, she wouldn't have had to work so hard now. Xiao Jiao lives his life every day, not just getting what he wants. Facts have proved that the most important thing for a woman is to find a good man, not to work hard personally. The four girls, Huo Lily, Tan Hui, Cao Xiaoqian, and Song Ziona, sat down around the small table. Cao Xiaoqian took the beer and opened 4 cans in one go. She was the strongest in the dormitory. She even fought with boys in high school and beat them to tears. Thank you, Huo Lily took the beer from Cao Xiaoqian's hand and took a sip. Then she picked up a bag of duck necks, tore them open and ate them. Why hasn't Wenjing come back yet? Song Ziona also picked up a bag of spiced peanuts and tore open the package. Needless to say, she must have gone to see her boyfriend Lin Jing again, and the two of them did something together, Cao Xiaoqian said. What is it? Huo Lily asked with a smile. Cao Xiaoqian glanced at her and said, what is it? Let's book a room. Lily, I don't believe you really don't understand. Song Ziona smiled and said, she must understand, but I don't know if she has ever practiced it. Cao Xiaoqian said, Lily should still be, she didn't mean that she hasn't been in love. Song Ziona looked at Huo Lily with a curious and gossipy expression, Lily, are you really? Huo Lily was a little embarrassed, so what? It's not embarrassing. It's not shameful, but you haven't even had a single relationship in 4 years of college. You didn't go to college in vain. Song Ziona paused and said with a bit of a smirk, Lily, let me tell you that it's actually very comfortable. Actually, it depends on the person, Cao Xiaoqian said suddenly. Song Ziona was stunned for a moment, then nodded with a smile. Yes, it does depend on the person. Xiaoqian, you are more experienced. How am I experienced? I've only had 3 boyfriends, and one of them hasn't done anything yet. After Cao Xiaoqian finished speaking, she looked at Huo Lily again, Lily, you should be able to meet a lot of men as an anchor, right? Why didn't you choose one with the right conditions to be your boyfriend? Huo Lily smiled and said, you can't have a boyfriend as an anchor. If you have a boyfriend, who will reward you? I used to know a student anchor who was very beautiful and had a good development momentum. However, she was dating a boyfriend. Her boyfriend insisted on her making her relationship public. When she couldn't resist him, she did make it public. As a result, her popularity plummeted and her career as an anchor was in decline. Ruined. If she hadn't had a boyfriend, she would probably have become a well-known internet celebrity. It wouldn't be difficult to make hundreds of thousands a year. If she breaks up with her boyfriend in the future, she will definitely regret it. Even if they don't break up, can they live without money? After hearing what Huo Lily said, neither Cao Xiaoqian nor Song Xiona spoke. After a while, Song Xiona said, "I think that girl is a bit stupid. If the boy really liked her, he wouldn't force her to give up her career." Tan Hui, who had been silent all this time, suddenly said, "Have you ever thought that if a boy supports a girl to continue to be an anchor, and the girl has more contact with rich people, she will probably change her mind and dump the boy?" Cao Xiaoqian shook her head and said with some confusion, "I don't know what those men think. Even if the female anchor doesn't have a boyfriend, do they still have a chance? Besides, if the female anchor has a boyfriend, just hide it and say she is single, and they won't know." Song Xiona then added, "This is the same as chasing stars. Those fans also know that there is no chance of anything happening with their favorite stars, but it is difficult to accept celebrities falling in love. Lily, do you think this is true?" Huo Lily hummed slightly, then picked up the beer and took a sip. In fact, when she was playing games with her, she met a very attractive boy. He was handsome, had a good personality, and had good family conditions. Looking at his bedroom background during the video, he is probably a second-generation rich man. However, Huo Lily accidentally learned that the other party was only 16 years old and had just entered high school, while she was already in her sophomore year. She was teased by a little boy, which made her embarrassed and funny. The other person looked like a college student in both appearance and clothing. How could she have imagined that he was not an adult yet? Huo Lily cut off contact with the little boy without hesitation. No matter how much money he offered, she would no longer play games with him. She was worried that the little boy's parents would cause trouble for her, saying that she had seduced underage boys. The little boy also vowed at that time that he would come to her and ask her to be his girlfriend after he was admitted to college. Thinking of this, Huo Lily chuckled a little amusingly. "Lily, what are you laughing at?" Cao Xiaoqian asked curiously. "Nothing." Huo Lily shook her head lightly. 3 years have passed in the blink of an eye, and the little boy should also take the college entrance examination this year. However, he should have forgotten her after such a long time. "Lily, are you acting like a man?" Song Xiona joked with a smile. "I don't have a man to think about. Do you think I'm like you? If you like any celebrity, you'll call me husband." Huo Lily also said with a smile. "What's wrong? I can scream whatever I want. Lily, it's time for you to get a boyfriend. You seem to be the only one in our dormitory." Song Xiona suddenly stopped mid-sentence and turned to look at Tan Hui. "Zia, you haven't been in love yet, right?" Tan Hui just glanced at her but didn't answer. Huo Lily couldn't help but said, "Zia, it's time for you to fall in love and find a boyfriend. Stop being influenced by others." For 4 years, she watched Tan Hui never come out, and she felt a little uncomfortable. She felt that Tan Hui studied so hard probably to forget Li Jie. Cao Xiaoqian also said, "Lily is right, Zia, it's time for you to fall in love. With your conditions, are you afraid that you won't be able to find a good boyfriend? It's not difficult to find a boyfriend with good conditions, but it's hard to find a boyfriend with conditions as good as Li Jie's." Song Xiona stopped before she finished speaking. "Zia, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have mentioned him." Tan Hui glanced at Song Xiona and smiled nonchalantly, "Whether I'm in love or not has nothing to do with him. Originally she just wanted to be an English teacher, but seeing Li Jie's career getting bigger and bigger, She always wanted to follow in his footsteps. But even though she tried her best, his back was still getting farther and farther away from her. You may not believe it, but Li Jie has never confessed to me, and I have never rejected him. She has been taking the blame for 4 years and is about to graduate. Tan Hui doesn't want to take the blame anymore and decides to tell the whole story. It doesn't matter whether Huo Lily or the others believe it or not. Then, she told Huo Lily and the others about what happened with Li Jie. She moved from the science class to the liberal arts class and got to know Li Jie when she was a sophomore in high school. They talked about it until after the college entrance examination. They took the train to Hongchen Normal University to report. However, Tan Hui did not mention Li Jie's forced kiss on her, but said that Li Jie's attitude towards her suddenly changed drastically. Thanks to Fantasy 502 for the 10,000 rewards and the sake tip. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanjie. Chapter 540. After hearing this, Huo Lily, Cao Xiaoqian, and Song Xiona all looked at each other. The Li Jie in Tan Hui's mouth does not seem to be the same person as the Li Jie in their impressions. Shy, introverted, and not good at words, is this Li Jie? Besides, how could Li Jie be a licker? Although Tan Hui expressed it more euphemistically, they still heard that Li Jie was quite fond of Tan Hui in high school and could obey her words. Li Jie was very good to Xiao Qiao, but he was definitely not a dog licker, more like a wolf licker. Could it be that Tan Hui was lying to them? But what's the use of her lying? It doesn't seem like she's lying. Zai, are you saying that your relationship was normal when you got on the train, but Li Jie's attitude suddenly changed when he woke up? Cao Xiaoqian's tone was full of difficulty. Song Xiona followed the guess and said, logically speaking, since Li Jie gave up a better school for you and went all the way to go to Hongchen with you to go to school, if there were no changes, it would be impossible for him to suddenly distance himself from you. Boundary. Zai, did you do anything to hurt him unintentionally? Tan Hui thought about it seriously, then shook her head lightly. She didn't know how many times she had thought about everything between her and Li Jie in the past 4 years. After the college entrance examination, she was relatively indifferent to Li Jie, but on the surface she was getting along well with him. She just thought that after entering college, she would have less contact and the relationship would gradually end. The more she thought about it, the harder it became for her to understand Li Jie's reaction on the train. He seemed to have a big problem with her? This makes no sense. Song Xiona shook her head. Isn't Li Jie a reborn person? Huo Lily suddenly said in a guessing tone. She then smiled and said, I was joking, this is impossible. Reborn? Lily, what are you talking about? Cao Xiaoqian said without knowing why. Not only her, but Song Xiona didn't understand either. Only Tan Hui seemed to understand what she meant. Don't you usually read novels? Huo Lily said strangely. What novel? I read some romance novels when I was in high school, Song Xiona said. It's a rebirth novel on a male channel. The plot of the novel is usually that the protagonist reaches middle age and his life is unsatisfactory. Suddenly he is reborn and returns to his youth. He starts to make changes and make up for his regrets. He relies on foresight of future development to make money. He made a lot of money and became a rich man, and he has many beautiful girlfriends. Huo Lily said very enthusiastically. After reading the fantasy novels written by Li Jie, she occasionally went to male channels to read novels. Her favorite was the rebirth novel, and she even thought about writing a rebirth novel with a girl as the protagonist, with many handsome guys. As Cao Xiaoqian and Song Xiona listened to Huo Lily's story, they felt more and more familiar with it. How could this be so similar to Li Jie's experience? After Huo Lily finished speaking, Cao Xiaoqian asked, Lily, how do the protagonists in the novel get reborn? How did you get reborn? Just like that, I got hit by a car, had an accident while saving someone, and got reborn as soon as I woke up. You can just make up any excuse. It's just a novel anyway. Reborn as soon as you wake up? Cao Xiaoqian and Song Xiona couldn't help but glance at each other. Li Jie seemed to have changed his attitude towards Tan Hui as soon as he woke up. By the way, wait a minute. After Huo Lily finished speaking, she got up and went to the desk to fiddle with her laptop, then sat back with the computer in her arms. Take a look, this rebirth novel is very similar to the situations I told. Rebirth, Cao Xiaoqian and Song Xiona both put their heads in front of the computer screen. Tan Hui seemed to be thinking about something and was a little distracted. After Huo Lily called her, she came back to her senses and looked at the computer screen. They read 2 or 3 chapters together and found that the novel was about a down-and-out middle-aged internet writer who woke up and returned to his college days. The male protagonist knew that his girlfriend in college at the time would soon fall in love with a boy with better family conditions and break up with him, so he asked his girlfriend out, broke up with him first, and dumped him first. The girl was confused by him and felt very wronged. This is really similar to what Zai said, Cao Xiaoqian couldn't help but say. Isn't Li Jie really reborn? Otherwise, how could he be so mature, steady, and capable at such a young age, Song Xiona said with a smile. Huo Lily turned to look at Tan Hui and said with a smile, Xiao Hui, maybe according to the original development trajectory, Li Jie confessed to you after entering college, but you rejected him and got together with another boy. Great emotional intelligence. The first thing he will do when he comes back is to break off the relationship with you. After saying that, she laughed again. Huo Lily and the others were all joking, and no one took it seriously. Rebirth and other things were too ridiculous. You rejected him and got together with another boy. Huo Lily's casual words made Tan Hui stunned, like a thunder that instantly split the fog in her heart. If Li Jie hadn't changed, if he confessed to her after entering college, she would definitely reject him outright, and then find a boy with suitable conditions to be her boyfriend. Because that was her original plan. Tan Hui doesn't believe that Li Jie has been pretending for 3 years in high school. No one can pretend to be like him, and there is no need for him to pretend. But why did he suddenly change? Not only did his personality change, as if he was a different person, he also became extremely good, from an ordinary person to a genius. But if Li Jie is a reborn person, then all the things she thought were unreasonable before will make sense. Yes, this guess is ridiculous. But Tan Hui once saw a saying that after all impossibilities are eliminated, what remains, no matter how unbelievable, must be the truth. She saw this sentence in Li Jie's novel. A person's first impression is very important. In the eyes of Huo Lily and the others, Li Jie is a genius and can succeed in anything, and they firmly believe in this. But Tan Hui is not like that. She has been with Li Jie day and night for 2 years, and her impression of his mediocrity has been deeply ingrained, and it is difficult to accept that she was really wrong. So when a convincing reason appeared for her, she subconsciously accepted it. Even if this truth is extremely ridiculous. Just when Tan Hui was deep in thought, Huo Lily and the others had changed the topic. Song Xiona looked at Huo Lily and said, Lily, do you think I can be the anchor? After just 1 or 2 hours of live streaming, she earned nearly 20,000 yuan. This really stimulated her, and she couldn't help but want to become a host. Huo Lily was stunned for a moment, then said with a smile, of course you can. There is no threshold for being a host. Anyone can do it as long as they buy a set of equipment. After a pause, she added, although there is no threshold for this industry, it is not that easy to make a lot of money. You see, I have been an anchor for 2 years, and I am not just a little famous anchor. Huo Lily also guessed why Song Xiona suddenly wanted to be an anchor. Song Xiona said nonchalantly, "It doesn't matter, I'm just having fun and I haven't thought about making money." Lily, you have entered the industry early and have rich experience. Please guide me. Song Xiona has thought about it. During the live broadcast, she can definitely take advantage of Zhou Ziyu, Luan Xiaolin, and Yang Hao. As classmates, talk about what happened before they became famous. Just like tonight, if you use the heat to increase the popularity of the live broadcast room, there will definitely be no shortage of rewards. At this time, Cao Xiaoqian noticed Tan Hui's trance. "Zia, why, what are you thinking about?" Nothing. Tan Hui came back to her senses and smiled at her. Huo Lily raised her beer and said with a smile, "Xiaoqian, Xiona, Zia, why, let's have a drink together." Okay. Cao Xiaoqian and Song Xiona also raised their beers, and the four of them touched the beer cans together. While drinking and chatting, the girls chatted more and more privately and became more exciting. The speed of the car increased, and they even shared their boyfriend's performance. Huo Lily and Tan Hui were inexperienced, so they listened to Cao Xiaoqian and Song Xiona's talk and opinions with curiosity and embarrassment. When a girl drives a car, she drives faster than a man. Song Xiona looked at Huo Lily and Tan Hui and said, "Lily, Zia, why, let me tell you, you can't just look at looks when looking for a boyfriend. Physical fitness is also very important. If you are not in good health, you absolutely can't get him." Cao Xiaoqian nodded in agreement. "When I was in high school, the second boyfriend I had was not in good health. I didn't have any comparison at that time. I thought all men were like this. Later I learned that the difference between men is very big." Song Xiona suddenly laughed. "Why are you laughing?" Cao Xiaoqian asked in confusion. Song Xiona smiled and looked at her. "General boys really can't deal with you." When Cao Xiaoqian heard this, she stopped and said, "Xiona, don't talk about me either. Most boys can't deal with you." As if remembering something, Song Xiona said a little mysteriously, "By the way, before Zio transferred to another school, she once let it slip. No, it doesn't count as spilling the beans. She has never had a boyfriend before. May think this is normal." She said she and Li Jet. She said and gestured with a number. Huo Lily and Tan Hui were inexperienced and didn't think there was anything wrong with it. But Cao Xiaoqian was stunned, and said with suspicion and disbelief, "Xiao Na, are you really telling the truth? It took so long? Is Li Jia an animal?" Song Xiona said, "I didn't dare to believe it at first, but one time I found Tsuyu." After a pause, she added, "Besides, if Li Jia's physical fitness is not good, he should not have many girlfriends." Cao Xiaoqian thought for a while and said with a sigh, "I finally understand why Xiaoqiao can accept that Li Jia has another woman. Her small body really can't bear it." She laughed after saying this. Song Xiona also laughed. Huo Lily and Tan Hui were stunned for a moment before they realized what they meant. Huo Lily also wanted to laugh a little, but Tan Hui's expression was very complicated. Cao Xiaoqian and Song Xiona laughed for a while and then stopped. Song Xiona suddenly turned to look at Tan Hui. Cao Xiaoqian followed and looked at her. Tan Hui felt uncomfortable with the strange looks in their eyes. "What are you two looking at me for?" "Nothing." Cao Xiaoqian and Song Xiona smiled and looked away. "Why watch Tan Hui? If she really gets together with Li Jia, she will be the one who is both happy and miserable." Huo Lily and the other four girls chatted until past 1 o'clock in the morning. They drank all the beer and almost all the snacks. Huo Lily was drunk and was helped to the bed by Cao Xiaoqian and Tan Hui. Song Xiona was also a little drunk and almost fell down when she climbed up to the upper bunk. Cao Xiaoqian was the best drinker. She didn't feel anything after drinking 3 cans of beer, so she took the basin to the bathroom. Tan Hui was the least drunk and only drank a can of beer. She came to the desk and opened her laptop. She found the Rebirth novel Huo Lily mentioned, downloaded it and transferred it to her mobile phone. Then she went to bed and lay down, reading the novel on her mobile phone. Nowadays, reading novels is mainly done on the computer, and the mobile app will not be launched until next year. Many novels cannot be read directly on a mobile phone. You must first download the novel to your computer and then transfer the novel to your mobile phone. After a while, Cao Xiaoqian came back from washing up. Seeing Tan Hui looking at her phone, she said, "Zai, it's very late. Aren't you still asleep?" "Well, I'll go to sleep later," Tan Hui said softly, looking at the novel intently. Cao Xiaoqian turned off the desk lamp and went to bed. The dormitory was suddenly plunged into darkness, with only Tan Hui's mobile phone screen still emitting a faint light. Time passed little by little, and Huo Lily and the others fell into sleep. Only Tan Hui was still reading the novel. When I looked at it, I saw the sky was brightening. Tan Hui put down her phone and rubbed her dry eyes, feeling indescribably shocked. This novel is a true portrayal of the relationship between her and Li Jie. After the male protagonist broke up with his girlfriend, he returned to his old career and started writing online articles. With many years of writing experience, his first book became a hit and made his first pot of gold. After having money, he began to pursue the heroine. After that, the actor took advantage of the foresight to sell songs, invest in movies, and arrange business. He became a top rich man and had more and more confidants around him. The experience of the male protagonist in this novel cannot be said to be exactly the same as that of Li Jie, but it is not much different. The ex-girlfriend who was dumped was also very similar to her. Seeing the male protagonist's career become more and more successful, she still couldn't let go of the breakup and couldn't get over it for many years. Originally, Tan Hui was doubtful and a little hard to believe that Li Jie was a reborn person. After all, rebirth is a bit ridiculous. But now she felt like she had to believe it. Tan Hui thought complicatedly for a while, feeling sleepy gradually, and fell asleep in a daze. However, before she slept for long, she was woken up again. It seemed that Huo Lily said something loudly, and Tan Hui, who was extremely sleepy, was about to fall into sleep again. But when she suddenly heard a word, her heart jolted, and her sleepiness disappeared. Wedding photos. "Lily, please keep your voice down, Zai is still sleeping," Cao Xiaoqian said to Huo Lily, who ran in excitedly. Huo Lily glanced at Tan Hui, who was sleeping soundly on the bed, showed an embarrassed expression, and lowered her voice and said, "Xiao Hui is still sleeping. Well, she seemed to have been playing on her mobile phone very late last night," Cao Xiaoqian said with a hum. Huo Lily glanced at Tan Hui again and said with suppressed excitement, "Li Jie and Xiao Jiao are taking wedding photos. Maybe they will get married soon." Cao Xiaoqian was startled when she heard this and subconsciously raised her voice, "What did you say?" "Li Jie and Xiao Jiao are taking wedding photos." "Yes, it was filmed in the school. Many people were watching." Huo Lily paused and said with great envy, "From the school uniform to the wedding dress, it's so romantic." "Li Jie and Xiao Jiao are taking wedding photos." Tan Hui suddenly sat up from the bed. "I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn." Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 541. A large Mercedes-Benz Sprinter luxury car was parked next to the school's artificial lake. Li Jie, who looked cool and handsome in a simple black suit, stood on the bridge of the artificial lake with Xiao Jiao, who wore a white wedding dress, simple and elegant makeup, bright eyes and cool teeth, a charming smile, pure and bright, and an indescribable beauty. The photographer and staff guided and assisted the two people to take beautiful poses for the wedding photo shoot. Many students stood nearby and watched. More and more people gathered, and soon there were hundreds of people. There were also news that students were rushing here. A cordon was set up around the filming site. 20 or 30 security personnel in black suits were scattered around to maintain order at the scene. Once they saw a student taking out a mobile phone to take a photo, they would step forward to dissuade them. It's true, Xiaoqiao, that such an important thing as taking wedding photos was not told in advance. 4 girls, Zhang Qiang, Zhang Yu, Lu Li, and Shen Man, hurried over. They also learned from others that Xiaoqiao and Li Jie were taking wedding photos here. Zhang Qiang and the others came to the cordon. Zhang Yu opened the cordon and was about to go in, but the security personnel stopped them with their hands. "Student, you can't come in. We are roommates of your Mr. Li's girlfriend," Zhang Qiang said to the security personnel. After saying that, she waved to Li Jie and Xiaoqiao, "Xiaoqiao, Xiaoqiao." However, because the distance was a bit far, and there were many staff members surrounding Li Jie and Xiaoqiao, they noticed the movement here. "Classmates, please wait a moment." The security guard picked up the walkie-talkie and said a few words. Soon, Shen Baishan, also dressed in a black suit, walked over from the cordon. "Minister Shen," Zhang Yu greeted Shen Baishan with a smile. Zhang Qiang and others also said, "Minister Shen." Shen Baishan was the first bodyguard to follow Li Jie, and Zhang Qiang and the others all knew him. Shen Baishan nodded to them, and then said to the security personnel, "Let them go in." "Thank you, Minister Shen." Zhang Qiang and the others smiled and said thank you to Shen Baishan, then opened the cordon and walked inside. "Minister Shen," several boys hurried over again. "It's He's Hegang, Yang Hao, Cheng Xiang and the others." Shen Baishan nodded to He's Hegang and the others again and let them in. "Minister Shen, can we too go in and take a look?" a girl among the students watching suddenly said. Shen Baishan turned around and looked over, recognizing the girl who spoke, Chen Xian, a popular anchor under Kudong Studio. She also pulled a beautiful little girl who was innocent and cute. Chen Xian added, "Minister Shen, we are just watching from the side. We will never interfere with the filming." Shen Baishan looked at Chen Xian and the two, hesitated and said, "Okay, you guys can go in too." "Thank you, Minister Shen, thank you so much." Chen Xian thanked her happily and ran in quickly, pulling Lu Mingyang. Seeing that several groups of people had entered easily, some onlookers were also ready to move. "Minister Shen, let's go in and have a look." "Yes, let us go in and have a look too." However, how could Shen Baishan put them all in? He said that too many people would affect the shooting, "Please understand," and then left. Chen Xian pulled Lu Mingyang to the vicinity of the shooting location and stopped. Zhang Qiang, Zhang Yu, He's Hegang, Yang Hao and others who came in first also stood and watched. Li Jie took off his suit jacket and sat on the bridge railing of the artificial lake. Xiaoqiao held his arm and leaned lightly on his shoulder. Several staff members gathered around, and a middle-aged male photographer kept taking pictures with a camera and flashing lights. "Xiaoqiao is so beautiful today," Zhang Yu couldn't help but sigh in a low voice. "I wish I could take wedding photos like this in the future." Xiaoqiao is a beauty, but she is not a top beauty either. However, with the makeup and wedding dress, her looks are no worse than those of Zhou Ziyu and Wang Zhaining. Makeup can be said to be a woman's second face. Some very beautiful beauties may not even have 60 points after taking off their makeup. A girl with a score of 60, as long as her foundation is not bad, can reach a score of 80 or above after putting on makeup and dressing up. If she photoshops her photos, she will immediately go to the top beauties. What's even more frightening is that many girls really think the person in the photo is herself. Of course, it's not just girls. Many men have seen beauties and pictures of beauties, and their eyes have become higher. In fact, a woman with a score of 70 or above without makeup is a real beauty, which is rare in reality and is a rare resource. Of course she is beautiful. This is all made with money. If I can wear such a beautiful wedding dress and have the services of a top makeup artist, I will become a beauty, not to mention Xiao Qiao is already very beautiful. Lu Li also whispered something. After a pause, she added, look at the diamond ring on Xiao Qiao's hand. It's bigger than a pigeon's egg. It's estimated to cost several million. There's also a sapphire necklace and an emerald bracelet. How many millions? Zhang Yu couldn't help laughing. Xiao Qiao's diamond ring is at least 10 carats. A 10-carat diamond ring costs at least tens of millions. How can Li Jie give you a bargain? It is estimated to cost tens of millions or even more. Her total wealth is probably worth hundreds of millions. Hundreds of millions. Zhang Qian, Lu Li, and Shen Man couldn't help but take a breath. They knew that Li Jie was rich and could be considered a top rich man, but a set of jewelry cost hundreds of millions, which was too extravagant. He's Hegang, Yang Hao, Cheng Xiang and others standing next to Zhang Qian, and the others were also shocked when they heard Zhang Yu's words. Zhang Qian glanced at Zhang Yu and said teasingly, if you are envious, why don't you just find a boyfriend like Li Jie? I don't dare think about a boyfriend like Li Jie, but if you want to marry me, you will be worth hundreds of millions, Zhang Yu said with a confident smile. She is now a millionaire internet celebrity and a 13th-tier starlet, and her spirits are getting higher and higher. Even if a second-generation man with assets worth hundreds of millions is willing to marry her, Zhang Yu may not marry her. She thinks she can be more popular. A-list celebrities dare not think about it, but she thinks there is still hope for second and third-tier stars. Even someone like Yang Hao can become a second-tier star, why can't she? Hearing Zhang Yu's words, He's Hegang couldn't help but sneered. Worth hundreds of millions. Does Zhang Yu really think that a rich man is a fool? If he is so rich, why would he marry someone like her who has been dealt with many times? Chen Xian looked at Li Jie and Xiao Qiao, who were not far away, looking at each other affectionately. Their eyes were very complicated, filled with envy, longing, and an indescribable sense of loss. She really didn't expect that Li Jie would get married so soon. Wasn't it said that rich people were unwilling to get married too early? Chen Xian felt empty in her heart, as if she had lost something very important. Senior, are you feeling a little uncomfortable? Lu Mingyang whispered in a voice that only the two of them could hear. Why did you say that? Don't you like Li Jie? Chen Xian was stunned for a moment and looked at Lu Mingyang with disbelief, as if saying, how did you know? It's easy to see. The way you look at the senior is different. Lu Mingyang paused and said, Senior, if you really like my senior, you should fight for it. Fight for? Chen Xian smiled with a complicated expression, said nothing, and turned to look at Li Jie and Xiao Qiao. Xiao Qiao, Zhou Ziyu, Lu Kaiyu, Shen Xinyi, Wang Zhaining, none of them are worse than her. Especially Zhou Ziyu and Wang Zhaining made her feel ashamed. But even they are just Li Jie's lovers. How can she fight for this? Okay, Mr. Li and Miss Jiao, you two can rest for a while. After taking another set of photos, the middle-aged cameraman paused the shooting. Li Jie and Xiao Qiao both breathed a sigh of relief. Taking wedding photos was really tiring, and the weather was hot. Seeing that the filming was paused, Zhang Qian, Zhang Yu, and Lu Li all gathered around. Xiao Qian, Xiao Yu, you are all here, Xiao Qiao said happily when seeing Zhang Qian and the others. Xiao Qiao, how could you do this? You didn't even inform us about such an important thing as taking wedding photos. Do you still regard us as friends? Yes, we heard it from others. Zhang Qian, Zhang Yu, Lu Li and other girls all condemned Xiao Qiao. I wanted to tell you before I got back to the dormitory, but I forgot about it when I was drinking, Xiao Qiao said, a little embarrassed. Forget it, we will forgive you this time, but when you and Li Jie hold your wedding, you can't forget us again, Zhang Qian said generously. Zhang Yu's eyes fell on the huge diamond ring on Xiao Qiao's hand. Xiao Qiao, this is the wedding ring Li Jie gave you. How much? At least tens of millions, right? I don't know either, I didn't ask him. Xiao Jiao shook his head indifferently. You should know how many carats it is, right? Zhang Yu stared at this huge blue diamond ring. The more he looked at it, the more he liked it. If anyone could give her such a diamond ring, she would immediately agree to marry him. It seems to be 13.14 carats. Xiao Jiao paused and then said, actually, the diamond is too big and it's a bit in the way. Her words were so Versailles-like that Zhang Qiang, Zhang Yu, and Lu Li were all speechless. Li Jie was also surrounded by boys such as He Zhigang, Yang Hao and Cheng Xiang. Brother Jie, you are so handsome today. Yang Hao looked at Li Jie up and down with a look of shock on his face. Li Jie smiled. Yang Hao has been an actor for several years, and his acting skills have gradually improved. This performance is quite good. However, he also felt that he was very handsome today, just a little less handsome than Baigu. Cheng Xiang said with a sigh, I thought I would be the first one in our class to get married, but I didn't expect that you, Jizi, would beat me to it. He Zhigang then said, Jizi, when are you and Xiao Jiao planning to hold a wedding? Don't forget to notify me then. I will be your best man. Yes, my brothers are all going to be your best man, Cheng Xiang and Yang Hao said one after another. At the end of this month, Li Jie said, his eyes falling on Chen Xian and Lu Mingyang not far away. At the end of this month, He Zhigang and others were surprised when they heard this. Brother Jie, it's only been a few days, why are you and sister-in-law so anxious? It was difficult for Yang Hao to understand why Li Jie wanted to get married so early. If he had Li Jie's conditions, he would definitely not consider getting married until he had had enough fun. Cheng Xiang said suspiciously, Jizi, Xiao Jiao is pregnant, right? No. Then why are you two in such a hurry? Okay, don't ask this anymore, He Zhigang interrupted Cheng Xiang. Jizi, let's take a photo together. On the day of the defense, there were too many people looking for photos with Li Jie, and he did not find an opportunity to take photos with Li Jie alone. Li Jie glanced at He Zhigang in surprise. Naturally, he could not fail to see why He Zhigang was so persistent in wanting to take a photo with him. But he didn't expect that He Zhigang would become so realistic. He Zhigang gave Cheng Xiang his mobile phone and asked him to help take pictures. Then he and Li Jie stood side by side and put their hands on his shoulders. At this moment, Xu Mei came over and said, Mr. Li. What's the matter? Is something wrong? Li Jie shook off He Zhigang's arm. Xu Mei came to him and whispered something. Li Jie was obviously a little surprised after hearing this. Let her come in. Shortly after Xu Mei left, he came back with a girl. After seeing this girl, Zhang Qiang, Zhang Yu, He Zhigang, and Yang Hao all showed surprise. Xiao Jiao stared at each other closely. Tan Hui. Why is she here? They all knew that Li Jie was here for Tan Hui, but the two of them had already broken off contact. What was she doing suddenly when Li Jie and Xiao Jiao were taking wedding photos? Tan Hui, are you looking for me? Li Jie's eyes fell on Tan Hui's face. Tan Hui glanced at Xiao Jiao, Zhang Qiang, He Zhigang, and Yang Hao, and then said, Li Jie, can I talk to you alone? Can't you say no here? It's not convenient to talk here. Let's talk privately. Li Jie glanced at Xiao Jiao, then nodded to Tan Hui, okay, let's go to the car and talk. After saying that, he took her towards the RV. Zhang Qiang looked at the leaving figures of Li Jie and Tan Hui and said, is there something that can't be said here, and the two of them have to say it in private? Who knows? Xiao Jiao felt a little unhappy. Today was such a good day, but this Tan Hui came to ruin her mood. She's not here to steal the bride, is she? Zhang Qiang suddenly raised her voice again. Robbing a bride? Zhang Qiang, how dare you think that if you want to steal a bride, it won't be her turn? Isn't Zhou Ziyu still? As Zhang Yu was talking, he suddenly stopped and glanced at Xiao Jiao's face. Why did she mention Zhou Ziyu so well? If she really hit the mark, then whose lap would she hug? When the two came to the RV, Li Jie invited Tan Hui to sit down at the guest table and took her a bottle of drink from the small refrigerator. Okay, it's just the two of us now, just say what you have to say. Tan Hui looked at him with an inexplicable smile on her face, as if she had seen through everything. I didn't expect that someone could actually be reborn. After saying that, she stared at Li Jie closely, observing his expression carefully. Li Jie was obviously stunned for a moment, and then he couldn't help laughing, as if he had heard something extremely funny. Tan Hui continued, "You don't have to pretend anymore. I have already remembered it. I rejected you after I entered school and got together with someone else. You will treat me like that after you are reborn." Li Jie suppressed his smile, looked at her and said, "Well, since you can see it, I won't hide it. That's right, I was reborn and came back from 2017. Seeing that Li Jie admitted it so easily, Tan Hui was a little doubtful. The fact of being reborn is too ridiculous. Besides, if Li Jie was really reborn, logically speaking, he would not expose himself easily. Li Jie continued, "However, I am not Li Jie, but Lin Yang, his good friend in high school." Lin Yang. Tan Hui was stunned. Li Jie looked playful, "You don't have to think about it. I don't exist in this time and space, but I do exist in my time and space, so you don't know me, but I know you."